Chapter 1200. The mysterious man's figure was instantly engulfed by the Wang Lung Yuan sword. Heaven and earth shook. All things bowed their heads. When the golden dragon returned, Yu Yang already had a red dragon ball the size of a ping-pong ball in his hand. Could it be that the Wang Lung Yuan sword refined the mysterious man in one move, just like how it refined the Southwest god Lord Shafang's scripture? This red dragon ball was formed from the mysterious man's divine energy. Yu Yang was both surprised and happy. He looked up and found that the mysterious man was still floating in the air, not dead at all. But there was a transparent hole in the position of the heart. His heart was gone. Perhaps the red dragon ball in Yu Yang's hand was formed from the mysterious man's heart. I've had enough of you little bugs. Since that's the case, I'll let you see my true power. The mysterious person furiously roared. His voice was like thunder, and the space around him exploded under his anger, forming a tornado that was spinning crazily. If it weren't for Duo's law of life, heaven and earth would have been crushed into pieces by this tornado of the shattering void. Bone spurs protruded from the mysterious man's cloak. It was instantly torn apart. It turned into a few pieces of cloth. The mysterious man, whose body had expanded infinitely, quickly turned into a giant monster, up to 100 meters tall, with a hideous and terrifying face, sharp horns and thorns all over, like thorns and thorns. His skin was covered with scales that were as black as ink or as dark as blood, and his front skin was curved like a hook. His sharp and hard claws were up to 10 meters long, and his strong muscles were bulging, making the mysterious man look like an ancient giant beast that could tear up everything in the world. When he opened his mouth full of sharp teeth and roared at the sky, even Duo, who had always looked calm, frowned. At this time, the mysterious man, who had completely transformed, had blood-red eyes. But it was obvious that he still had reason. It was just that his strength had skyrocketed 100 times. Did this guy fuse with a war beast? Frost Cold anxiously asked Zhao Shi, but Zhao Shi, who possessed the mirror of truth, also shook his head, indicating that he was unable to pry into the truth. It should be a sealed state from the beginning. Some rankers in the heaven realm like to compress and seal the power that they have comprehended during cultivation, saving it for battles or breakthroughs. They called it the first form or the second form when the seal was undone. What we see in front of us should be the unsealing and entering the first form of shape-shifting. Deicide didn't know much about this and wasn't sure if it was true. If there's more than one form, and there's a second form, then how do we fight next? Frost Cold couldn't help but shiver as he finished speaking. The mysterious beastified man was 100 times stronger than before. If there was a second form, once the seal was lifted, who else could be his opponent? No wonder this guy was so arrogant, even after being injured repeatedly and having his heart dug out. On the other side, Yu Yang originally wanted to reward the mysterious beastified man with a sword, but the Wang Lung Yuan sword had been temporarily overdrawn. He had no choice but to not use his innate sword chi and condense the chaotic force of yin and yang. The sky and the earth were divided into two polar worlds as if they were cut by a knife. One side was a world of fire that burned like a soldering iron hell, and the other was a world of ice and snow that was close to absolute zero. Streaks of purple lightning exploded in the collision of ice and fire, crackling like snakes piercing through the sky. Under Yu Yang's will, Yu Yang used one arm as a bow, with the mysterious ice as the pole, the flame as the feather, and the purple lightning as the arrow, gathering the endless power of the world of ice and fire between his arms, aiming at the mysterious beastified man. The arrow shot through the air. The mysterious beastified man pointed his sharp claws forward, and 18 light shields condensed from divine power blocked in front of him. However, the arrow formed by the chaotic force pierced through the shield, ignoring the obstruction, and pierced into the mysterious beastified man's left eye like a hot knife through butter. Yu Yang, who thought that he had succeeded, was about to wave his fist in celebration. But unexpectedly, the mysterious beastified man's bloodthirsty eyes revealed a trace of mockery. The arrow that pierced into the mysterious beastified man's left eye It was completely ineffective. The arrow that could pierce through anything in the world couldn't even pierce through the mysterious beastified man's eyelid. The mysterious man's defense was already abnormal enough. Other than the world-exterminating wheel that cut off his little finger, the Tautai blade and other godly weapons couldn't do anything to him. Now that he had unsealed his first form and shape-shifted, his defense was even more unbelievable. The power of the arrows condensed by Yu Yang's chaotic origin force was not inferior to the two big moves of Hei Zi and Light of Destruction that had injured the mysterious man in one eye and one rib. However, the result was completely different from before. The chaotic origin force and the yin and yang pole arrows could not even penetrate the skin of the mysterious beast form. Damn it! This kind of defense was simply a bug, even more abnormal than a level 868 hero of invincibility. Yu Yang had the urge to immediately call customer service to complain about the Heavenly Gods Company for randomly farming bosses. Why would this kind of LV90 plus boss come to a LV70 map? Was the Heavenly Gods Company purposely torturing people? Deicide and the others watched in despair. The original mysterious man was already close to invincible. Now that he shape-shifted, his overall strength increased by more than 100 times. His attacks were completely ineffective. How could he even fight? Cheat, little Wen Li, who had been coldly gathering her divine power and waiting for an opportunity to fight, attacked angrily. The 1,000-meter-long golden snake demon statue behind her raised its two snake demon dual blades that could harvest the souls of all living things and slash down with the intent to slaughter everything. The mysterious beastified man who had easily blocked Yu Yang's chaotic force arrow just now was happily enjoying his opponent's despair. He didn't expect to be attacked from behind. Before he could even turn around, he was slashed into 3 pieces by the golden snake demon statue's 2 blades, apart from the head and spine in the middle that were still suspended in the air. The left and right shoulders, chest, and abdomen, as well as the thighs below the pelvic bones, were all cut into pieces by the golden snake demon statue. The mysterious beastified man, whose eyes were filled with disbelief, was just about to open his mouth to speak when with a smack, the golden snake demon statue swatted him to the ground like it was swatting a fly. Frost-cold, Zhao Shi and Deicide's eyes bulged and their jaws dropped to the ground in an instant. How is this possible? This contrast was too great. The mysterious beastified man, who was completely unharmed by Titan Yu's full-powered arrow, was actually killed in one move by the little snake demon statue. This little snake demon looked even more ferocious than that flower fairy. At least she was like this when it came to killing enemies. Yu Yang was also dumbstruck. When did little Wen Li become so awesome? He actually didn't know about it all this time. He was really a failure. Little Wen Li looked back and looked at Yu Yang, smiling sweetly. Her little appearance was still so obedient, completely unable to see the ferociousness of swatting a fly to kill the mysterious beastified man in 1 second. Yu Yang rubbed his eyes, wondering if he was seeing things. Rumble. The mysterious beastified man who was killed on the spot suddenly melted and disappeared. The gigantic and smashed body emitted a thick, solid black smoke, twisting like a snake, rising in spirals. In less than 10 seconds, the second form was completely formed. It no longer had a physical body, and its entire body was demonized. It could change and be born at will. This was the second form of the mysterious person after being unsealed, the demonized form. I'm really an idiot. Frostcold slapped himself hard. The good news didn't come true, but the bad news came true. He had really hit the nail on the head this time. The mysterious person really had a second form. Moreover, the mysterious person who had once again unsealed and reappeared in the second form was 10 times stronger than before. The current demonized mysterious person's strength was so strong that it was simply heaven-defying. Frostcold felt that he, as a divine master, would die if the demonized mysterious person blew on him lightly, let alone fight. In comparison, he was really a pitiful ant. The golden snake demon statue waved its blade and slashed heavily. The demonized, mysterious person, who was already 1,000 meters tall, either stretched out his hand to block or turned into smoke, slashing and attacking at will. Not only did he change his previous embarrassing state of being instantly defeated, but he also counterattacked step by step, forcing the golden snake demon statue to retreat again and again, unable to fight back. The demonized, mysterious person laughed loudly and was extremely arrogant. "You pitiful ants, trying to be happy for a moment. How would you understand the divine power that I have comprehended for tens of thousands of years? Not to mention those insignificant tricks just now. Even if my entire body is annihilated, I can immediately recover. Ha! You will never understand that I actually have an immortal body. You use all your strength, but don't even think of hurting me." Although little Wan Li, who was on par with Yu Yang and had not advanced to the divine realm, had condensed her divine spark for a long time, her strength was not a match for the demonized, mysterious person. The situation changed rapidly. Little Wan Li's golden snake demon statue was beaten by the demonized, mysterious person until it retreated step by step, its divine light dimming. "Get out of the way. I said before, I will end this battle." Duo, the new flower god, stepped forward bravely. Millions of thorny flower vines broke out from the ground, intertwining to form a thorny flower giant that was more than 1,000 meters tall. At the same time, the flower petal giant that she controlled did not change and followed behind her step by step. "Other than Tianyu, there is no one in the heaven realm who can harm my body that has been demonized 1,000 times." The demonized, mysterious person was confident in his second form. "Is that so?" Duo sneered. The flower petal giant reached out and grabbed the demonized, mysterious person's smoke-like arm. The demonized, mysterious person laughed loudly. That arm, just like when he was fighting against the golden snake demon statue, became illusory and formless. However, in the next second, his laughter suddenly stopped. The already illusory arm once again regained its form. Under Duo's Ji Zun's will, it was unable to transform into a smoke-like state. Not only the arm, the demonized, mysterious person's entire body was also unable to become illusory. All of it turned into a solid state under the flower petal giant's will. On the other side, the thorny flower giant raised its towering hand, as rough as a barbarian capturing a wild boar, and forcefully pressed down on the demonized, mysterious person's head, fiercely smashing this enemy, who was still proud and arrogant a second ago, to the ground. Without waiting for the demonized, mysterious person to struggle, it pressed forward again. Fists rained down like rain. Without any rhyme or reason, it rained punches on the demonized, mysterious person. Yu Yang was flabbergasted and muttered to himself, "Could this be the legendary Lu Tiguan punching Zheng Guanxi? Very perverted and very violent. Wasn't this girl always pleasing to the eye, doing everything beautifully? Even fighting was like dancing? When did she become so violent?" Chapter 12:01. The thorny flower giant and the flower petal giant joined hands to beat up the demonized, mysterious man. According to Yu Yang's wishes, it would be best if the demonized, mysterious man was like Zheng Guanxi, finishing him off in 3 punches. Then Duo would scold him for pretending to be dead and turn around to leave. That would be perfect. Killing a big boss like the mysterious man for the first time in his life, Yu Yang wasn't greedy for equipment. This was because, in his subconscious, the less treasures and mythical beasts, the better it would be for the mysterious man. However, reality was cruel. How could an old ghost like the mysterious man, who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years, be killed in 3 punches? For an old man like him, how could he not have 1 or 2 mythical weapons in his hands? Without 1 or 2 mythical beasts, one must know that up until now, the mysterious man had never summoned a mythical beast, nor had he used a mythical weapon. Just because he didn't use it didn't mean that he didn't have it. The reason why he didn't use it was most likely that this old man felt that he didn't need it. Now that he was beaten up by Duo, Yu Yang didn't need to guess to know that this old man was going to flip out. Duo, retreat. Yu Yang hurriedly told little one Li and Duo to retreat. If they really couldn't beat him, then they would quickly run away. If they couldn't escape, then they would hide in the grimoire world. Even if they hid for 8 to 10 years, there was nothing to be ashamed of. Moreover, even if it was shameful, it was better than losing their lives in vain. Ow, have you hid enough? The demonized, mysterious man's resentful voice came out from under the thorny flower giant's fist. A ray of divine light burst out from the demonized, mysterious man's body. Frostcold, who was watching from afar, cried out involuntarily. Could it be that this guy has a third form? While his words were still echoing in his ears, the mysterious, demonized man who had just been beaten up had already disappeared without a trace. Between heaven and earth, there was only a dazzling divine light left, its brilliance reaching tens of thousands of zhong, shooting straight into the sky. At the top of the vault of heaven, there was a kind of supreme pressure descending. Both Shuang Han and Zhao, she felt a sense of humility in their minds. Their bodies were under the control of that supreme pressure. Their feet sunk deep into the ground, and they were forced to support themselves with their hands. Their waists bent like a bow. For a moment, they were simply unable to resist the pressure and straighten up. Even a powerhouse like Deicide could only support the ancient sword of hatred. Only then could he stand up straight. Yu Yang had already retracted the Taotai blade and the other divine weapons. In the upcoming battle, they had not fully matured and would not be able to play their original role. Little Wen Li stood beside Yu Yang to protect him. Her 2 blades formed a defensive stance. Only then could she withstand this mountain-like pressure. Duo's expression was solemn. She was no longer as relaxed and calm as before. The sea of flowers that she had set up on the ground had already been crushed by the pressure of that divine light. She had almost lost control. The thorny flower giant and the flower petal giant each stretched out a hand to form an arch bridge. Only then could they protect her, Little Wen Li and Yu Yang. In the sky, there was a golden deity whose body emitted billions of rays of light. He slowly floated down. If people had never seen a god before, they would understand what a god looked like just by looking at this golden deity. He was very much like the image of the gods in people's hearts and legends. Holy, dignified, glorious, great, not only in the eyes of Yu Yang, but also in the eyes of Deicide and the others. They felt that there was no one in this world who could be more divine and superior than this mysterious person. Even though they knew that this was an enemy, at this moment, Frostcold and the others could not even muster up any thoughts of resistance. Their minds were all stunned by the arrival of this mysterious person. The mysterious person had now returned to his original height. However, he now had the body of a god. That divine light curved down and circled around the mysterious person's body. It formed an incomparably divine halo. Behind the halo, another brilliant and dazzling golden deity statue grew endlessly. In 10 seconds, it had already grown to a height of 2,000 meters. Its body was so huge that it made the mountains in the distance look like insignificant lumps of earth. Yu Yang and the others stood at the foot of the golden deity statue. They could not even see the top of their toes. The thorny flower giant and the flower petal giant, who were more than 1,000 meters tall, had now become 2 dwarfs in front of the golden deity statue. Without a doubt, this was the divine deity condensed by the mysterious person. It was tens of thousands of years of effort. It was not something that Little Wen Li and Duo could compare to. Even though they were all geniuses, their cultivation time was too short. How could they compare to this old fellow who had been cultivating for tens of thousands of years? Although the mysterious person did not say it, Frostcold and the others all knew that this should be the final 3rd form, divine transformation. Frostcold reacted and gave himself another slap. What a jinx! He had actually guessed it right again. The mysterious person summoned a holy grimoire that was as dazzling as the sun. Unexpectedly, he did not summon his guardian war beast. He only activated his unique inherent skill. It was unknown if he felt that there was no need to summon it or if he had other intentions. After activating his inherent skill and summoning a special war beast with light wings to assist him, the mysterious person's ability once again increased by several times. His eyelids, which had been closed, opened. Standing in front of him was Yu Yang. Under the protection of Duo and Little One Li, he was sent flying as if he had been struck by a lightning hammer. His entire body streaked across the earth like a cannonball, smashing through the rocks of several hills and shooting straight into an undulating mountain range. The thorny flowers that had spread across the earth were simply unable to stop or protect his body in time. He left behind a clear and massive tunnel that was 10 meters deep and 10,000 meters long. Several dozen kilometers to the side of Yu Yang, Frostcold, Zhao Shi, and Deicide, although the mysterious person was not glaring at them, felt as if their hearts were being pounded by a raging bull. Their bodies uncontrollably retreated, unable to stop even after taking several steps. Just the might of a single glare was already this powerful. The mysterious person, who had unsealed his final form and returned to his true divine form, had indeed reached a realm that even Frostcold and the other god masters could not imagine. Duo and Little One Li reacted immediately after Yu Yang was attacked. The little lowly serpent demon retreated backwards, wanting to protect her master at the first moment and stop the enemy's next attack. As for Duo, she immediately charged towards the mysterious person in his divine form. The golden statue behind the mysterious person stretched out a giant hand that could cover the sky. It pressed down on the thorny flower giant's shoulder. Thousands of thorny flower vines were forcefully torn apart. The thorny flower giant, who was standing on the sea of flowers, was brutally uprooted from the earth, lifted high into the air, and threw it far away. Thousands of thorny flower vines extended from the thorny flower giant's body and drilled into the sea of flowers on the earth, reconnecting. After snapping countless vines, the thorny flower giant finally managed to dissipate the enormous force of the golden statue and stabilized its body. However, in the sky, a foot the size of a mountain appeared. With a rumble, the golden statue stomped the thorny flower giant's head into the ground. On the other side, the golden statue's heavy fist appeared, shattering the rainbow flower shield formed by the flower giant. The sky was filled with flower petals that fell like rain. The petals were as red as blood. The flower giant's body shook violently. As if it was injured, it retreated continuously. Duo, who was controlling the flower giant with her willpower, had a face as pale as paper. A trace of blood even flowed out from the corner of her mouth. The clash between divine power and divine power, the clash between willpower. Although they did not personally participate in this kind of battle, the battle of strength was 100 times more dangerous than fighting with one's own body. If one was slightly inferior, it would bring about a fatal injury. This was not something that could be eliminated with any technique or strategy. In the face of absolute power, only power was the key to victory. Everything else, no matter if it was technique or strategy, they all paled in comparison. Life is eternal. Nature is natural. Duo's eyes were filled with determination. Especially after Little One Li rescued Yu Yang from the deep rock mountain, she clenched her fists even more resolutely. Her Jizun was as still as a mountain. Following her words, the sea of flowers that had all withered under the mysterious person's pressure immediately regained their vitality. The thorny flower giant, whose head had been stepped into the ground, also tightly hugged the legs of the golden god statue. The golden god statue's 2,000-meter-tall body began to shake. Duo's counterattack began. She was already a flower goddess who had leveled up to the god realm. She had the irreversible ancient law of life. No matter how strong the mysterious person was, he would not be able to subdue her, a holy supreme. Flowers and plants sprout in spring and grow in summer, bear fruit in autumn and wither in winter. This heaven's law is so weak. The mysterious person obviously looked down on the power of plant-type beasts and plant-type life. To him, natural powers like ice, wind, thunder, and fire were far superior to the power of life like flowers and plants. As soon as he opened his mouth, the golden god statue immediately stomped its feet. Its divine power penetrated deep into the ground, triggering the magma beneath the ground. The elemental power that was originally quietly buried in the Earth's core, once its balance was broken by the divine power, immediately exploded and crazily poured out from the opening where the divine power had penetrated. Billions of pieces of rock debris and an incalculable amount of mud and soil erupted from the hole under the golden god statue's feet. Immediately after, countless amounts of blood-red magma gushed out. Although the thorny flower giant's head blocked the magma, it could not stop the crazily gushing magma. It was thousands of times more spectacular than an inverted waterfall. The blood-red magma was like dozens of red pythons, forcibly tearing apart the thorny flower giant's head and rushing straight into the sky. Then, it reversed its momentum at an extremely high altitude and dived down. A trace of mockery flashed in the mysterious person's eyes. How could mere flowers and plants withstand the power of this magma eruption? To defeat the enemy, there was no need to make him move himself. Just using the power of heaven and earth was enough to turn the enemy into ashes. Especially plant-type life forms, against ice, fire, thunder, and other kinds of power, they had no defense at all. Any kind of elemental power could also be easily destroyed. Genesis. Yu Yang, who had been sent flying by the stair, flashed to Duo's side. The guy from another world, who had been provoked by the enemy, had now decided to counterattack. A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth to take revenge on the mysterious person. He stared at the mysterious person without moving. He decided to first help Duo defeat this fellow, then arrange this fellow's corpse into 36 positions and stare slowly to his heart's content. It was definitely not Yu Yang style to not take revenge when there was a grudge. With the help of her master's Genesis domain and Genesis will, Duo was overjoyed. She held onto Yu Yang's hand, their fingers clasped tightly. In the center of their palms, a Genesis god orb. Under the two's tacit understanding, the chaos divine power contained within, as well as the divine weapon spirituality, both erupted. Little One Li, on the other hand, charged forward. The 1,000-meter-tall golden snake demon, with 6 arms, divine power as a shield, divine sense as a barrier, and diamond grimoire as a shield, narrowly blocked the mysterious person's 2,000-meter-tall golden divine statue's heavy punch, buying precious time for Yu Yang and Duo to work together to create a world. The high-temperature lava in the sky sprinkled on the ground, turning into fragrant flowers. Strange and colorful, those huge meteor-like lava disintegrated, turning into sparkling and translucent diamonds, sprinkling on the ground. The thick smoke became a rainbow, the flames became butterflies, and the volcanic ash that covered the entire heaven and earth turned into drops of rain, nourishing the flowers in the sea of flowers on the ground, making these beautiful plant-type life forms even more vibrant, swaying in the wind. The volcanic crater that crazily released the Earth's core fire had unknowingly been filled with fiery red and beautiful demon blood thorny flowers. The thorny flower giant, whose head had been destroyed, now stood up. Not only had her head regrown, but there was also a corolla formed by the demon blood thorny flowers. When the thorny flower giant stood up again, it was already 1,500 meters tall. Even though it was not as tall as the golden divine statue, it was already very close to the gap between the two. Cough. Yu Yang had never tried to create a world in such a huge space, nor had he tried to convert such a huge amount of energy. Even if it was just a thought, it was extremely exhausting. If it wasn't for his sovereign's will that was as hard as corundum and his long experience, if it was anyone else, even if it was a divine master like Deicide, their brains would have exploded long ago. Yu Yang, who had a splitting headache, tried his best to support himself, not letting himself fall. He used his hands to cover his mouth and nose, stopping the gurgling blood from dripping. He could be injured, but he would definitely not let others see his weakness. No matter when, even the moment before his death, he had to be a strong warrior. There were too many family and friends who supported him. Everyone was looking forward to his return. Yu Yang knew that no matter when, he could not fall easily. No matter what kind of enemy he faced, no matter how strong he was, he had to win. He had to bring victory and success back to his family and friends. For them, he had to persevere. He had to be invincible. He definitely could not let Fourth Mother and the others down. He definitely could not let them cry for him. Moreover, he was a man from another world who was blessed by the heavens. If he couldn't pass this hurdle, who else could? Ever since the Marquis of Zijin, which battle did he not grit his teeth and endure till the end? It was a pity that the ice beauty who fought alongside him that day was still in a deep sleep and could not fight alongside him again. Otherwise, with the Book of Truth, she would definitely be able to increase his battle power by 100 times. Fresh blood flowed out from the gaps between Yu Yang's fingers, spreading like bloodworms. Little Wen Li leaned into his embrace. The backlash of taking on the golden statue's full-power attack had caused her small body to sink into extreme pain. The blood from her mouth had dyed Yu Yang's shirt. In the entire battlefield, only Duo still had the strength to support her body. Even Deicide, who was originally leaning on his sword, had to support himself with one arm to support himself. Frostcold was on the verge of fainting. Zhao Shi, who possessed the divine mirror of truth, had not suffered any serious injuries and was still clear-headed. However, the message that the divine mirror of truth had returned made him turn pale with fright. He could not help but shout loudly, intending to remind Yu Yang, Duo, and Little Wen Li has one side, the northern god, Lord Zhao Shi, he shouted. However, under the pressure of the mysterious man's divine sense, his voice was annihilated and could not be accurately transmitted to Yu Yang's ears. Although the mysterious man did not think that Zhao Shi's warning to Yu Yang was useful, he was very unhappy that Zhao Shi had seen through the truth that he was about to attack. His divine sense turned into millions of invisible needles and pierced into Zhao Shi's body. At the same time, the pressure of his divine power directly annihilated Zhao Shi's voice. In his mind, he was a god who controlled everything. No matter what the enemy wanted to say, no matter what he wanted to do, it must be under his own will. Chapter 1202. When Yu Yang saw that the mysterious man was too abnormal, she decided to run away. She couldn't defeat him. If he couldn't fight, couldn't he just hide? However, before he could return to the grimoire world, a divine light had already shrouded Yu Yang from the sky. Duo and Little Wen Li were shocked and looked up at the sky. They had never noticed that the dome of the sky had been tampered with by the mysterious man. With the cover of the divinized aura, the mysterious man had secretly placed a strange divine mirror at the top of the dome of the sky. No one could see the true face of this divine mirror, because it was the other way around. Its back was facing down. Even though the back of the divine mirror was facing down, the radiance it emitted was still dazzling. At first, it could not be concealed, but once it was activated by the mysterious man's sovereign will, it was as if the clouds were dispelled and the sun could be seen. Yu Yang, who was illuminated from the back, felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His consciousness was instantly taken over by the divine mirror's spirit, and his body fell to the ground. Ever since Yu Yang started cultivating, he had never experienced a situation where his mind was seized and his body fell to the ground like a fish on a chopping board. One must know that the strongest thing about Yu Yang was his Ji-Zun will, which was as unmovable as a mountain. Duo and Little Wen Li were shocked. They had seen it with their own eyes, but they still could not believe it. Yu Yang's consciousness was taken over by the divine weapon. Huff, huff, huff. Yu Yang felt as if he was in a dream. He peacefully entered a dream and fell into a deep sleep. The divinized, mysterious man looked as if he had seen an ant that he could play with any time he wanted. Right now, he wasn't thinking about how to kill that B***starred Yu Yang. Instead, he was thinking about how to torture that B***starred. That way, he would feel good. That way, he would be able to erase the humiliation of being forced to reveal his deified body. After thinking for a long time, the mysterious man finally made a decision. He decided to torture Yu Yang repeatedly in his dreams for 10,000 years, letting him wail in his ears for 10,000 years. He reckoned that only then would his heart be barely satisfied and comforted. Of course, in the outside world, the time would not exceed a few minutes. If he did not materialize the pain of the dream into his physical body, then 1 second would be enough. One dream for 1,000 years, one dream for 10,000 years. Ouch! The mysterious man gave an order to the divine mirror in the sky. The divine mirror's light beam did not diminish and its position did not change, but the direction of its rotation had changed to the opposite direction. Yu Yang, who was in Shao when Li's embrace, was still unconscious. However, his entire body was twitching in pain, as if there were thousands of needles stabbing into his body, even stabbing into his internal organs. Drunk, Yu Yang's stiff and twitching body immediately relaxed and slumped down like mud. His face was strangely flushed with a hangover. In his heavy breathing, little one Li and Duo could even smell the strong smell of alcohol. Hey! As soon as this order was given, Yu Yang clenched his fists. The man from another world showed a rarely seen expression of real anger. His body kept trembling because of the extreme anger in the dream. After the explosive anger accumulated to the extreme, the mysterious man gave another order, which was sorrow. Yu Yang's anger subsided like the tide. What replaced it was a kind of loneliness and sorrow that could never be seen in normal times. Even though he lived with Yu Yang, other than sickly beauty and Yu, few people knew that the always carefree and cheerful man from another world had such a side. Even Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others who usually trained and fought together had never seen this side of Yu Yang. Only when he was in the most peaceful sleep would he occasionally get a glimpse of it. Usually, he hid himself very deeply. He always hid behind the counterfeit inherent skill, never showing his cowardice to others, not even the slightest bit. This was because he needed to be absolutely strong to protect everyone. Duo was enraged. What she hated the most was people endlessly digging into the hearts of their opponents. Everyone should have their own little world, and if it was forcefully torn apart and maliciously exposed, that kind of excessive behavior was even more repulsive than using a knife to cut off one's flesh or skin 10,000 times. The most unbearable thing for her was to forcefully tear apart Yu Yang's heart in front of her. This was the master that she respected the most, admired the most, and hoped to protect the most for the rest of her life. The mysterious man's actions made her feel even more furious than destroying her precious baby. No, it was no longer just anger. It was a kind of hatred. Scram! Duo shouted toward the sky. The hatred in her voice was like a hammer, instantly shattering the entire space. The beautiful and elegant flower goddess was gone. Now, with her hair standing on end, the one with an imposing aura was a goddess of vengeance dominated by anger and hatred. The mysterious man was shocked by her outburst, but he was still full of confidence. In the blink of an eye, his shocked expression returned to normal. He even had the intention to maliciously tease her, deliberately provoking her as he continued to send a command to the divine mirror in the sky. Repent. Repent, weak little lamb. Your fate is endless tears and regret. The mysterious man was proud of himself. After saying that, he laughed out loud. When a mysterious man was laughing the most happily and proudly, an angry fist, ignoring all obstacles, landed on his nose. The mysterious man's body was hit backwards, and he couldn't help but take a big step back. His eyes, they were full of doubt. Even when he was punched in the face, he still couldn't believe it was true. He, who had reached the third and final stage of the perfect deified form after unsealing, could actually be attacked by someone who could ignore everything. In the next second, the mysterious man was strangely angry. He realized that the person who was punching in front of him was Duo, who was so angry that her hair was standing on end. He immediately swung his fist, preparing to use 10,000 times his strength to attack Duo. Not only that, he also wanted to smash this plant-type beast that dared to offend him into meat paste. He even wanted to reconstruct the meat paste, make a statue, and seal it with his divine power so that she would never come out. Boom! Just as the mysterious man raised his hand, preparing to counterattack, the angry Duo fiercely punched him in the face again. The mysterious man forcefully straightened his body, exploding with unstoppable divine power. He punched back with both fists. Duo didn't retreat at all. She gave a frontal high kick, and in between the two fists, her speed was even faster, aiming for the mysterious man's chin. When a mysterious man was hit and flew up, Duo flashed behind him, swung her heavy elbow, and smashed the back of the mysterious man's head. The mysterious man, who fell to the ground, desperately grabbed Duo's calf. As he smashed to the ground like a meteor, he angrily flung her away. Rumble, rumble. Two loud sounds rang out almost at the same time. The shock wave swept the ground, but before that, both of them shook off the rubble, adjusted their bodies, and charged toward each other again. Both of their heavy fists hit each other's faces at almost the same time, and both of them flew backwards, blood splattering everywhere. After 1,000th of a second of dizziness, both of them immediately turned back in the sky, and a new round of attacks erupted. Yu Yang, who was trapped in a dream, suddenly woke up. He yawned, and with a sleepy look on his face, he drowsily sat up. The divine mirror nightmare, which was originally impossible to escape from in a dream, and where 1 second outside was equivalent to 1 day or even longer inside, had mysteriously lost its effect. The divine mirror in the sky was still enveloping his body with divine light, but the current Yu Yang was completely unaware. "Don't worry, I'm fine." Yu Yang saw little when Li's tear-stained face, and his heart ached for her. He gently kissed her. "I only dreamed of Bing Air being bullied on the first floor of Tong Tian Tower, and I was especially angry. But it's fine now. I've already walked out of the Virgo Temple and the gate of life and death of the 12 Zodiac Temples. Mere dreams have no effect on me. I was captured by the divine mirror, probably because I received the heart mirror inherent skill from the spirit mirror's owner in the Virgo Temple. This heart mirror inherent skill is rarely used, but I didn't expect it to resonate so strongly with the divine mirror's artifact spirit just now. And in a moment of carelessness, my mind was sucked in. And little Wanli was very worried at first, but seeing that Yu Yang was fine, she immediately smiled through her tears. Duo, what happened?" After comforting the little Lamia, Yu Yang looked at the battlefield and saw that the angry Duo was fighting with the mysterious man with all her might. He couldn't help but be dumbfounded. What was this little girl trying to do? She wasn't a melee fighter at all. Even if there was a melee, it shouldn't be her, this little girl's turn. Oh man, Red and IKA. All of their close combat skills were much higher than hers. This kind of fight where they didn't defend at all, with just their fists hitting flesh, even if she didn't feel pain, Yu Yang himself would feel heartache. However, Duo was in a fierce battle, so Yu Yang didn't dare to call her in case she was distracted and the mysterious man's counterattack succeeded. Just as Yu Yang was thinking about how to help Duo, suddenly, a shadow flashed in the sky and disappeared. It flashed in a shadow. It turned out that the divine mirror above the dome had mysteriously disappeared. Frost Cold, Zhao Shi, and Deicide's expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. Who was so daring to steal the divine equipment in front of the mysterious man? Moreover, this was a divine equipment. The divine equipment chose its master. Let's not talk about whether it could be stolen. Even if it could be stolen, what was the use of stealing it? Yu Yang was furious. He pointed to the sky and scolded, "So you are a thief. No wonder I always lose things. It turns out that you are the one who stole it. I reserved this mirror early on. Return it quickly. I have raised you for so long in vain. You don't pay the rent, you don't even help me fight, and instead you steal my things. This is outrageous." Before he finished scolding, suddenly a black shadow on the ground lowered its head and rushed over. It knocked him to the ground. Then, a smiling little face holding the divine mirror appeared. This mirror doesn't have your name written on it. Since it is an ownerless item, of course, whoever is faster will get it. And this is not a good thing. You see, this mirror only has an evil side. There is no good side. This kind of divine equipment can easily backfire on its owner. You see, even that old ghost didn't dare to contract it. I am helping you to eliminate a disaster. Also, you can't blame me for losing things. I never steal things. My mother taught me to be a good child since I was young. Besides, if I take something from you, can it be considered stealing? Isn't your things also mine? Hearing this twisted logic, the guy from another world was so angry that his navel became crooked. You are even more barbaric than a robber. If the blackest robber in the world saw you, he would probably have to call you Grand Aunt. It was impossible to reason with this little Grand Aunt. No matter if she was reasonable or not, there was no way to reason with her. In the end, she would definitely knock you to the ground. The divine mirror was snatched by this little girl. Yu Yang could only blame his bad luck. He had never seen any treasure that fell into her hands and could still be taken back. Girl, you snatched the divine mirror. I don't have any treasure to protect myself. Now that I'm being bullied by that old ghost, and we are fighting, aren't you going to help me get rid of him? Yu Yang tried his best to persuade this Qilin girl to help him fight. As long as she was willing to help, even if she was not good at other things, she would at least knock out the old ghost's 2 front teeth. I can't beat him. If he could beat this old ghost, he would have done it long ago. This old ghost was one of the people who attacked me in the heaven realm. At that time, he chased me for a long time. Fortunately, I ran fast, otherwise I would have almost lost my life. The Qilin girl Bing Yin patted her small chest with lingering fear, expressing her fear. Then you should fight with him even more. You are improving rapidly now and have long surpassed him. Beat him up. I will support you spiritually. Yu Yang tried his best to stir her up. This old ghost is not the most troublesome. I forgot to tell you, in that foggy place, there is an even more powerful guy who is desperately squeezing in here. I estimate that it will not be long before he can break through the seal and squeeze in. The Qilin girl Bing Yin pointed in the direction of the Divine Destruction's secret realm and accidentally revealed the bad news that broke Yu Yang's heart. There is an even more powerful one. Yu Yang was scared silly. If you don't hurry to stop him, he will probably be able to squeeze in less than half a day. This old ghost has opened a hole in that seal. The Qilin girl Bing Yin, who was holding the divine mirror, rushed out with a whoosh. She lowered her head and knocked away the mysterious man who was gradually gaining the upper hand and suppressing Duo. She then rubbed her small forehead and turned back to Yu Yang and shouted, I can only help so much. This old ghost is so powerful. You should hurry up and run. Girl, you have no sense of loyalty at all. Yu Yang teared up. Mom said that sleeping early and getting up early is good for your health. Good night. The Qilin girl Bing Yin ignored his accusations and stuck out her little pink tongue. She held the divine mirror and returned to the grimoire world, leaving Yu Yang staring blankly. Chapter 1203. The mysterious man, who had been beaten by Duo for a long time, was knocked to the ground by the Qilin girl. He covered his waist and couldn't stand up for a long time. The Qilin girl's head hammer was really amazing. Yu Yang was stunned. It was a pity that this girl was lazy and refused to help. Otherwise, the old ghost would not be able to bear the consequences. Duo took the opportunity to restore her overdrawn divine power. If it wasn't for the Qilin girl's head hammer, just now, she would have been defeated. Although the realm was almost the same, the old guy was an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands of years, and the condensed divine power were beyond imagination. Duo, who had just been promoted to the divine level, was getting more and more difficult. She had gradually fallen into a disadvantageous position. If there was no help, it would be difficult to reverse the situation. So it's you who hid that little immortal beast. The mysterious man stood up straight again. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. In the depths of the thick murderous intent, there was also a kind of greed of one can wear out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it effortlessly by chance. In the form of deification, he waved his hand and opened a page of the Holy Bible. He added a ghost-eye beast to his body. This kind of ghost-eye beast, it had no combat power at all, but had a valuable special skill, ghost-eye weeping blood. The ghost-eye beast, which had turned into an epaulet beast, shed 2 lines of blood tears. An extremely mournful lament sounded in Yu Yang's heart. Then, Yu Yang found that his clothes were stained with the ghost-eye beast's blood tears, dripping drop by drop. Looking at the ground under his feet, it was wet, as if a coward had been scared to pee on the spot. Yu Yang quickly jumped away. When he jumped in the air, there was no strange phenomenon, but when his feet landed on the ground was immediately wet, as if there were hundreds of crying ghosts hugging his legs and crying. The special ability of the ghost-eye weeping blood was tracking. No matter where the enemy fled, as long as the ghost-eye beast was still crying, then the enemy would not be at peace, and their whole body would be stained with blood tears. At the same time, the owner of the ghost-eye beast would be aware of the location, and no one could hide their whereabouts. Because of this special skill, the value of the ghost-eye beast was 100 times higher, and many super strong people would contract it. Using this to disturb the enemy's mind, lock onto the enemy's tracks. The nirvana flame ignited on Yu Yang's body, and the blood and tears instantly disappeared. However, once the nirvana's flame disappeared, the disgusting blood and tears immediately reappeared. Similarly, Yu Yang tried to purify everything with a white Shuanghua sword, but it did not work. If it was a normal ghost-eye beast, even if it was a heaven-ranked beast, it would not be able to affect Yu Yang at all. However, with the guidance of the mysterious man's will and the protection of his divine power, its special skill would not be able to be dispelled. That was because it was not something that Yu Yang could get rid of with his power. He had to kill the mysterious person, or else the ghost-eye beast's special skill would continue to exist. In short, the real decisive factor was the mysterious man, and the ghost-eye beast was just a medium to provide special effects. Cry your sister. I'm going to annoy you to death. Yu Yang's head was swollen by these sorrowful cries. If his mind was affected, then Duo, who had a telepathic connection with him, would also feel extremely uncomfortable. This was the effect that the mysterious man wanted. He had already realized that the plant-type beast in front of him was a guardian beast that would never die. Forget about killing it. Even if he used all his strength to kill it, it would be meaningless. The best way to attack was to kill that hateful titan. No, he should first capture him, seal him, and then slowly interrogate him about the whereabouts of the divine equipment and the immortal beast. As long as he nailed this extremely slippery brat to death, he would not be able to escape to heaven. He would not be able to enter the ground. Then this battle could be declared to be over. He did not want to use the ghost-eye beast at first. This kind of beast that kept on crying would damage his holy, glorious image. However, in order to obtain victory as soon as possible and force out the immortal beast's whereabouts, he had to achieve his goal at all costs. Yu Yang was annoyed by the ghost-eye beast crying. In order to quickly get rid of this terrible situation where he was stepping on piss and mud, he forgot everything else and rushed towards the mysterious man. Shaowenli followed closely beside him. Her 2 blades that could harvest souls were 1 step ahead and slashed towards the mysterious man. Of course, the main force of the battle was still the flower goddess Duo. In the chaotic battle, Ji Wuri, who had pretended to be suppressed by the divine power, had sunk deep into the ground. Suddenly, a mysterious smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He summoned an earth-drilling sandworm emperor. The man and the worm merged into one. They flew faster than the sky and swam more skillfully than the ocean. They split the ground and moved forward. In the blink of an eye, they had already escaped 100 miles away. In the battle between Yu Yang and the mysterious man, Ji Wuri dived further and further. In the end, he escaped 1,000 miles away, far away from the mysterious man and Yu Yang's divine sense. Only after confirming that it was safe did Ji Wuri drill out of the ground. His body that had been pierced through had already recovered to its original state. He opened the holy grimoire and took out a divine weapon. He forcefully tore the space apart and directly entered the void with Lu Guang and Jing Wu, teleporting to an unknown destination. Ji Wuri successfully escaped from the danger of the divine war. He was the first lucky person to escape. Not as good as Ji Wuri, but also lucky enough to escape. There was also the West God Lord Black Day, who had lost most of his divine power. At this time, Black Day was running forward in a panic. Just now, he used the divine power shockwave that swept the earth several times to successfully confuse everyone. He pretended to be weak and bounced away. Every time he bounced away, he was always thrown a distance to the periphery. It was not until he was blown tens of kilometers away and felt safe enough that he jumped up. He ran in the direction of the West God Kingdom with all his strength. Regardless of the outcome of this war of gods, Black Day had decided to remain in seclusion forever. He, who was cunning, also pretended to escape to the West God Kingdom to mislead the remaining deicide, Zhao Shi and Frost Cold. No matter which one of them could survive, they would definitely chase him. Black Day felt that just hiding was not safe enough. He must disguise a false appearance that could mislead the enemy in order to ensure his own life. As a hero of his generation, although his plan failed, his strategy was still there. His courage and willpower were also very extraordinary. If it was someone else, it was absolutely impossible to fake the illusion of escaping at such a tense moment at the risk of being discovered or caught up. Deicide, Zhaoxi and Frostcold did not care about Black Day. They spent a lot of effort to dig out the weak and dying northeast god, Lord Qing Yun, from the deep-buried soil. What are you all still dawdling around for? Get out of here. It's not a gay gathering. Do you want to cry here? Get out of here. I can't hold on any longer. Yu Yang was furious when he saw this. If Qing Yun's sect didn't die, you guys could come and dig it up again in the future. Look at the situation now. If one of them escaped, then one of them would survive. Why would you still think about friendship and brotherhood? It doesn't matter whether we go or not. We're too lazy to move now. Frost Cold shook his head. If they couldn't get rid of the mysterious man, then Outer Mountain would definitely be destroyed. At that time, whether they left or not, they would still die. It was only a matter of time before they were killed. Since that was the case, they might as well stay. Let's see how the War of Gods ends. At least before they died, they could travel together with their brothers. Their lives would not have been in vain. As for escaping in the face of battle, other than getting the nickname of Little Running Turtle, what else could it do? Yu Yang was seething with anger. He had never seen such a stubborn idiot before. Furthermore, there was more than one of them. It really made him want to ridicule them. Just as Yu Yang couldn't hold on any longer and was sent flying by the mysterious man's punch, a ray of divine light rushed towards Yu Yang before Duo and Little Wan Li could come to his rescue. It coiled around Yu Yang's body and brought him up to the sky. He rode on the clouds and rode on the thunder and lightning. Only when he reached the peak of the sky did he let out a dragon roar and turn back down. Yu Yang, who was sitting on the dragon's back and unknowingly flying around in the sky, gradually regained his consciousness. When he realized that the despicable, mysterious man was right in front of him, he immediately leapt up and condensed a world-exterminating wheel in his hands. It was as if a dragon's head was a pearl, shining brightly and slashed downwards. The mysterious man stretched out his hand. Void's unparalleled willpower stopped Yu Yang. His body flashed slightly and dodged the world-exterminating wheel's sharp edge. To his surprise, the hornless dragon, which he thought was just a mount and had no combat power, suddenly transformed into a female warrior with purple lightning on her clothes and thunderbolts on her body. Her slender legs were like the scissors of a dragon as she cut off the mysterious man's left divinized wing. The godly wings scattered into a sky full of feathers. Reaching out his hand to touch his shoulder, the mysterious man realized that not only was his godly wing broken, the ghost-eye beast that he used to lock on a titan, he was also killed instantly. The armor on his shoulder shattered, revealing a bloody wound that rolled up his flesh. The wound was so deep that his bones could be seen. Other than the little celestial beast that couldn't be evaluated with common sense, This was the first time the mysterious man had suffered such a serious injury in just one move. Why do you have the supreme dragon god's divine power? The mysterious man looked at the female warrior again and almost thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. What a pity! The one who came to Yu Yang's rescue in her dragon form and injured the mysterious man in one move was naturally the hornless dragon Jiang Ying, who had been training in the divine grimoire. She, who possessed the supreme dragon god's divine power, was extremely powerful once she attacked. Even if she did not obtain much divine power, it was still the supreme dragon god's divine power. Even the demon dragon, who had dominated the entire heaven realm, was scared to the point of peeing his pants in front of the supreme dragon god's power. The hornless dragon Jiang Ying's cultivation was far from duos. Even though she had advanced to the godly realm, it was still too early for her to enter the godly realm. Her own divine power was not enough to fight against the mysterious man. However, the dragon god divine power that she had fused into her body was definitely an extremely powerful existence. If it wasn't for the fact that her willpower could not overwhelm the mysterious man, that move just now would have been enough to heavily injure the mysterious man. "Girl, you're too awesome." Yu Yang hugged the hornless dragon girl and shouted excitedly. There was no way he wouldn't be excited. After cultivating in the divine grimoire for a period of time, the hornless dragon girl's amazing performance had completely exceeded Yu Yang's expectations. It was really a surprise. Previously, if Jiang Ying was said to be able to injure the mysterious man, Yu Yang would also not believe it. Even if she had injured Ji Wuri, he would still express his doubts. He did not expect her to be so awesome all of a sudden. He really wanted to kiss her a few times. Frost cold, Zhao Shi and the others almost hugged each other and cried bitterly. How many guardian beasts did this brat actually have? The most exaggerated thing was that these guardian beasts were all beauties. There was no justice in this world. The mysterious man saw that duo, Little One Li and the hornless dragon Jiang Ying had surrounded him in a triangle formation. That despicable titan, you seem to want to condense that unknown sword chi after releasing his ghost, I Weeping Blood. S special skill. The mysterious man's face immediately turned cold. You want to surround and kill me? What a joke. No matter how hard you try, it is just a useless struggle. You are still ants. Even if you're slightly bigger than normal, ants are still ants. He flipped the pages of the Holy Grimoire. A glorious godly bell that was decorated with all kinds of mysterious ancient runes appeared in the air, standing in the middle of the field. The godly bell did not ring, but there is a kind of godly sound that had existed since ancient times that resonated from the bottom of his heart. No one could resist it, and it instantly shocked the whole field. This time, it was Yu Yang's turn to cry. Damn it, is there still justice in this world? Is there still law in this world? It's fine if this old man has the 3-god mirror, but why does he also have the 5-god bell of the 6 divine equipment? Players can't cheat, but the boss can. Isn't this just playing with people? I want to complain. Chapter 1204. The mysterious man took out one of the 6 divine weapons, 5-god clock, and Yu Yang knew that it was not good. This divine weapon was definitely not to be trifled with. Compared to the 3-god mirror that had lost its front good and only had its back evil, it was much more terrifying. Just the ancient sound that shocked the soul was already unbearable. If he was not careful, he would be tortured by the god clock. Oh no, how could he break this thing? The man from another world was very anxious, but Xuanyo was not there, and there was no one around to help. It's over, what should I do? What should I do? Just when a mysterious man was laughing proudly. Deicide, the Eastern god, Lord, suddenly stood up. The mysterious man, who had reached the perfect deified form, didn't even look at him. In the eyes of the mysterious man, God Slayer, who could be easily knocked away in his initial form, would be killed instantly in front of his final deified form. No matter what he did, he would be killed instantly. What God Lord? He was just bragging. He was not even qualified to be his opponent. The mysterious man ignored Deicide. His eyes only looked at Duo, Jiang Ying, and Little One Li in front of him. He even glanced at Yu Yang casually, which meant that he recognized the existence of the man from another world. Deicide raised the ancient celestial parting hatred sword in his hand. The mysterious man's lips curled into a mocking smile. He almost said, "Poor worm, but no matter how you attack, you will not be able to hurt a hair of mine. On the contrary, as long as I blow, you little worm will fly beyond the clouds." The mysterious man did not stop Deicide's action at all. He just waited for Deicide's action with a mocking attitude. He was ready to crush this man who claimed to be the Eastern God Lord with one finger when Deicide launched his strongest attack, just like crushing an ant. The ancient celestial parting hatred sword trembled slightly. It was buzzing nonstop. In the next second, Deicide suddenly pierced it into his heart. This abnormal action stunned Yu Yang. The mysterious man also felt that it was inconceivable. This Deicide wanted to commit suicide? Inexplicable. Why did he want to commit suicide? Deicide pulled out the godly sword and forcibly dug out the still beating heart from the bleeding wound. With the blood of his heart, he drew an incomparably mysterious rune circle in the sky. Then, he channeled all the remaining divine power in his body into it. Yu Yang finally reacted. She madly rushed towards him and shouted, "No, I don't need you to do this." Deicide's cool face suddenly revealed a rare smile. It was as if a 10,000-year-old glacier had thawed. Facing Yu Yang, Deicide raised the heart in his hand up high. His eyes were blazing like the sun. "Today I finally understand the sacrifice of Tai Yin and Bing Li. Although I, Deicide, can't defeat a strong enemy, I can use my limited power and unlimited hot-bloodedness to seal a divine artifact. My journey to this world is not in vain. I, Deicide, will never be a weakling who struggles to survive. At the very least, I am a strong man who can defeat himself to achieve glory. Even if I die today, I have no regrets. The world will not lose its brilliance because of me, but it will gain more brilliance because of my existence." "Deicide, my name is Deicide." When Yu Yang arrived, he wanted to reach out and hug this man who had never submitted to a strong enemy and never submitted to fate. Deicide's body had already turned into powder and scattered with the wind. All of his divine power and potential, his will, his soul, everything was poured into the mysterious rune circle. The ancient celestial sword of Lihan let out a cry and shot out a beam of divine light. The rune circle, which was filled with Deicide's will and divine power, was imprinted on the god bell in front of the mysterious man. Nothing could stop that beam of divine light. Even if the mysterious man used his divine power to form 100 layers of divine shields, it was useless. The rune circle, which was filled with Deicide's will, easily penetrated the 100 layers of divine shields and imprinted the rune circle on the wall of the god bell, just as Deicide wished. The god bell, which was originally emitting 100 layers of light, suddenly dimmed. The ancient godly sound that was originally ringing in everyone's hearts also weakened and almost couldn't be heard. No. Yu Yang reached out and grabbed nothing. He never hoped to use the lives of others in exchange for his own victory. Even if Deicide was willing to sacrifice himself, it was still a great blow to the pride in his heart. Yu Yang didn't say it out loud, but he was actually prouder than anyone else in his heart. He had never wanted to rely on others, and had always struggled by himself. No matter how much effort he had to put in, he didn't want to rely on others on his path of growth. Unlike Princess Sisai and Yu Yu, who were destined to accompany him for life, Yu Yang saw them as one. If they helped him in battle, he wouldn't feel ashamed, and he wouldn't feel that his pride as a man was hurt, because they were the goal that he had to protect his whole life. He couldn't use his identity as an outsider to separate them. Even so, Yu Yang had always been in the most difficult part of the battle. Now, Deicide was in front of him, using his soul and divine power to help him seal this godly weapon, the 5-god bell, which he was helpless against. Yu Yang felt that the pride in his heart was shattered. A feeling of gratitude and humiliation that he had never felt before filled his heart at the same time. They intertwined and strangled the last bit of pride in his heart, making him feel inexplicable pain. Because it happened so suddenly, Yu Yong didn't want to accept it, but he had to accept the truth. Deicide, a respectable comrade, fell just like that. He was gone with the wind. Strictly speaking, Deicide wasn't Yu Yang's friend. The two only knew each other in this god's war. Other than working together to fight against enemies, they didn't have any other relationship. However, from a certain point of view, the relationship between Deicide and Yu Yong was deep and unusual. This relationship couldn't be explained clearly because both of them belonged to the Eastern clan of the Eastern world. From the first time they saw each other, both of them vaguely felt that they were clansmen, or even more intimate, brothers. The sword of hatred fell into Yu Yang's hand, wailing. After Deicide passed away, he entrusted his beloved sword, his battle partner of 10,000 years, to Yu Yong, a stranger and a brother of the same clan who he had never met before. He believed in this little brother. For victory, he was even willing to sacrifice himself for him. When a mysterious man was laughing proudly, Deicide, like an older brother protecting his younger brother, stepped forward bravely. With his life as the guide and his soul as the seal, he gathered all his divine power to seal the mysterious man's five-god bell, which was about to wreak havoc on the battlefield. Yu Yong didn't need him to do this, but Deicide did it without hesitation. For the first time, his cold face ignited his blood in front of the world. His burning hot blood destroyed the calmness and reason that Yu Yong was used to maintaining, and it boiled the man from another world who always protected himself and never showed it to others. Holding the sword of hatred, Yu Yong, who never cried or showed weakness, tightly closed his eyes. A crystal drop that looked like a water droplet slowly slid down the divine sword. Deicide, my name is Deicide. This was the last sentence of Deicide in this world, and it was also the sentence that burned the hidden heart of the man from another world the most. Before he had time to drink and chat with such a bold and proud man, he had already seen him disappear in a hurry. For his own victory, this arrogant swordsman with the ancient sword in his hand was willing to sacrifice everything. The indomitable man only left this sentence. Deicide, my name is Deicide. Ha ha ha. If you think that you can completely disable my god bell with just this seal, then it's too ridiculous. The mysterious man was shocked at first, but when he turned the god bell, he found that it was only half sealed and had not completely lost its power. Suddenly, his arrogance rose again, and he laughed to the sky. I want to say that I admire you. Sometimes, ants can't be ignored. However, ants are ants. No matter how much they pay, it's just a waste of effort. Yu Yong was so angry that he was about to rush forward and fight with the mysterious man. Wait a minute. In contrast to the tear-streaked Shuang Han, the northern god master Zhao Shi, who had an abnormally calm expression on her face, suddenly stood up. She held the true Wonder Divine mirror in her hands and spoke in a voice as clear and distinct as an ancient divine voice. The Eastern God Master was not the only one who killed gods in the Outer Mountains. There was also me. I'm not a god killer, but if I can kill gods, Zhao Shi, can also do it. Zhao Shi stabbed his hand into his heart and smeared his blood on the mirror of truth wonder. He drew the same incomparably mysterious runic circle. Qing Yun, who was so weak that he was on the verge of death, did the same thing. This northeastern divine lord did not speak. Before he completed the runic circle with all his life force, he raised his head and smiled at Yu Yong, as if he was bidding farewell to an old friend whom he had not seen for many years. The mysterious man suddenly panicked. He tried his best to stop it, but this kind of seal that used life as the seal and the soul as the seal was not something that could be stopped by divine power. The divine power-piercing wave that was shot toward Zhao, she was also deflected by Duo and Jiangying, far away from the target. Even if the bodies of Zhao Shi and Qing Yun were scattered with the wind, they did not want to see the divine power-piercing wave desecrate them. Frost Cold's tears turned into frost and dripped on the ground, crying like a child. In an instant, all three sides of the divine clock were sealed, and the power of the divine weapon had been weakened to the limit. But Frost Cold was not satisfied. He wiped his tears, and with a face full of determination, he pointed at the mysterious man who was about to vomit blood. Don't be delusional. Although I, Frostcold, am a person who cherishes life the most, I am not a coward. Do you want to use the divine clock? Do you want to laugh at us from above? Stop dreaming. I want to return all the humiliation I've suffered to you. Laugh again. You are the real, pitiful worm. I am not the #1 deicide in the outer mountains, nor am I Zhao, she who can see through the truth and not be confused, nor am I Qin Yun, who loves life, kindness, and sincerity. I am Frostcold, a paranoid person who will do anything for his goals and ideals. You can call me a madman, but you will never understand the desire and pursuit in my heart. Your arrival brought me despair and fear, brought me pain and humiliation. Now, I am returning all of this to you. I want you to understand that even an ant is a life that cannot be easily humiliated. Before Yang could stop him, countless icy blood chains flew out from Frostcold's chest. It extended for a long time. The mysterious man punched the icy blood chains into powder, along with Frostcold's body. At the moment of annihilation, the expression that Frostcold left the world was a smug smile, an extremely smug smile. The god clock, which had been sealed 4 times consecutively by the seal of life, finally dimmed and lost its divine might. It faded into an ink-black, ancient clock. The contract between the mysterious man and the god clock's weapon spirit was also forced to be removed. He was fuming with anger and stamping with rage. If he did not remove the contract, a part of his soul might also be sealed in the clock. He, who was surrounded by 4 strong enemies, Duo, Jiang Ying, Little One Li, and Yu Yang, definitely did not want that to happen. He had already removed the contract when he punched Frostcold's icy blood chains. That punch was also the punch that made him feel extremely depressed. If he had not returned everything to the mysterious man, how would Frostcold be smiling so comfortably and complacently? Goodbye, brothers. I promise you that I will definitely return all the pain and humiliation to this fellow. I will definitely let him taste the despair and fear that he once brought to you. I will definitely beat him into pieces. Yu Yang took a deep breath and turned to point at the mysterious man. You have completely angered me. Do you want to cry? Do you want to beg for mercy? All of these are useless, because I want to flatten you with 1 foot. Chapter 1205. At the Storm Fortress. The soldiers of the East and West camps, who were in the middle of a bitter battle, suddenly felt a supreme and majestic power pressing down on them. All the soldiers and generals on the battlefield fell to the ground like meteors crashing into the ground. Even the supreme divine generals who were fighting fiercely in the air, including Ancient Skeleton, 10,000 Evil, Marshal Chong, Marshal Griffin, and the Golden Eagle General, were no exception. Not only the 2 warring parties, but even the suspending motherships that were docked in the 2 camps lost control and dived to the ground. Their heads pierced deep into the ground. Wind Eagle, Winged Tiger, and the other galactic pirate leaders on Big Swan tumbled and fell to the ground like meteorites. Under this sudden burst of supreme pressure, before the majesty disappeared, no one could raise their heads to look up at the sky. It was impossible even to look up at it for a moment. Those who were below the divine generals could not even move their fingers. They could only be scared, as if the end of the world had come, and they could only wait for death and despair. No one knew what was happening, and no one had enough rationality to think about it. Ji Wuri, who had already escaped 2,000 kilometers away, suddenly pounced forward. His whole body was pressed to the ground. He used all his strength to resist, but it was useless. Ji Wuri was so scared that his soul almost left his body. At first, he thought that the mysterious man in his divine form had caught up to him. At the same time, Black Day, who had set up all the misleading illusions, was preparing to find an uninhabited valley to completely erase his aura and then return to the world inside the gold grimoire to hide for 1,000 years. When the situation outside was settled, he would come out to see if it was safe. He found an uninhabited valley and prepare to summon his beast to erase his last breath of life and return to the world inside the grimoire. The supreme pressure came instantly. Black Day's divine power had been mostly stolen, and he was already extremely weak. Now that he was under the pressure, he fell head first into the mud and fell on his face. He was in a sorry state. Compared to Jiwari, he was more afraid. If it was not for the fact that he could not open his mouth to beg for mercy, he would have begged the mysterious man to spare his life. His heart was like dead ashes as he despaired, thinking that he had set up everything and that his plan had succeeded. Who would have thought that in front of the mysterious person, he was still an ant that struggled to no avail, facing the unimaginable pressure that was extremely insignificant in comparison. The current Black Day could only close his eyes and wait for death. He no longer had the will to struggle or resist. He was in despair. Whether it was the ambitious Western camp or Jiwari, who was the most talented genius in the Central Shrine, none of them could imagine that this supreme pressure was actually the work of Yu Yang. No one knew how terrifying Yu Yang was after he went berserk. No one knew about the Giant of Fate's supreme pressure, all that the Giant of Fate had stepped on. Whether it was the Sun King who forced Yu Yang into a difficult situation, or the Empress who led her clan to invade Tong Tian Tower, they all died in the end, without exception. Although they didn't necessarily die on the spot, these super experts who used to look down on the world and dominate an area couldn't resist the power of fate. In the end, their divine powers scattered, their soul consciousness gone with the wind. Their wonderful lives became a full stop recorded in history. Not to mention the enemies who suffered all of it. Even the master, Yu Yang, could not control this unimaginable divine power. Yu Yang could never summon or control the Giant of Fate. If he was in a clear-minded state, it was almost impossible for him to use this uncontrollable power. He could only go berserk when he was in his most furious state, or he could be seriously injured and faint. It stimulated the hidden potential that Yu Yang could not use when he was in a clear-minded state. Only then could he summon the Giant of Fate and attack the enemy like a judge. How? The golden Giant of Fate's body pierced through the sky. No one could look up to it. Even the golden snake demon statue and the colorful flower petal giant, who were thousands of meters tall, could not even reach the knees of the Giant of Fate. All life in the world bowed down to the toes of the Giant of Fate. No one could be an exception. In the crazy shout of Yu Yang, the Giant of Fate stepped on the mysterious man who had expanded the divine power barrier to thousands of meters deep into the ground, up to his knees. The mysterious man's huge divine power barrier could resist any power attack from the mountain outside. In front of the Giant of Fate, it was as fragile as a soap bubble. There was a sound. Shatter. The mysterious man who was scared out of his wits was stepped into the mountain rock thousands of meters deep by the Giant of Fate. He tried to resist, but his arms were broken and all the bones in his body burst into thousands of pieces. The holy grimoire made a loud bang and exploded from the void in front of him, flying into the air. This special sign meant that the mysterious man had been killed in seconds. Only when the owner died would the grimoire be dropped. Now, the mysterious man was strangely alive. Although all the bones in his body were broken and his skin seemed to be cut by thousands of wind blades, he was still struggling at death's door and did not die. There was another strange thing happening to him. The guardian beast that would never betray and would never really die suddenly separated from the mysterious man's body and fell to the ground in pain, trembling. Its body and soul dissipated with the wind, directly annihilated in this world. Unlike other guardian beasts that died and returned to the grimoire world to sleep and recover. No, the mysterious man let out the most desperate cry in his heart. He knew what had happened to him. The guardian beast was dead. It was really dead, because its master had been instantly killed by an undefeatable godly power. The guardian beast that was one with its master had sacrificed its greatest loyalty in its final defense. It had died in its place. It had used its life that would never truly die in exchange for its master's life, and it had perished forever. Its annihilation also meant that the Holy Grimoire had broken away from the contract with him. The guardian beast used up the power of the holy grimoire to resist the fatal blow, and used its life in exchange for the master's life, loyal to the end. However, the mysterious man was not happy at all. He would rather die just now than to see himself drag out an ignoble existence like this. He lost the holy grimoire, lost the guardian beast that would never die and would quickly recover no matter how serious the injury was. What else did he have? Why didn't he die just now? If he was killed in second just now, he would not feel so painful. The pain of the body was nothing at all. The blow to the soul was the most painful wound. The giant of fate above his head only existed for a few seconds. When Yu Yang's divine sense recovered a trace of reason, it disappeared, feeling like the mountain on top of his head was gone. The mysterious man felt that he had regained control of his body. Of course, his numb senses also received various reactions from his body, and the pain was heart-wrenching. The mysterious man ignored the heavy injuries on his body and rushed forward. He stretched out his trembling, bloody hand and pressed it on the dim, holy grimoire, wanting to contract with it again. He could lose everything, but he could not lose this holy grimoire. The bloody hand pressed on the holy grimoire. It was different from before. This time, the holy grimoire no longer responded to his old master. On the contrary, the already dim holy grimoire, like a tired and dormant life, gradually became cold and returned to endless silence. No. The mysterious man was so desperate that he shed 2 lines of blood tears. Fuck, it's already like this, you still haven't died? Yu Yang, who was on the verge of collapse, stood on the 1,000-meter-high cliff that the giant of fate stomped on. He looked down and found that the mysterious man was still alive. His vitality was as tenacious as a cockroach, and he couldn't help but be angry. He condensed 2 swords, Black Guade Song and White Frost Cold, and prepared to use his remaining strength to make one last attack to completely kill this old ghost that couldn't be killed no matter what. After being blessed by the supreme divine power of the giant of fate, Duo, who had completely recovered and was even more powerful, hurriedly hugged Yu Yang. On the other side, Little One Li guarded in front. The golden snake demon statue's double blades formed a diagonal cross. Rumble, 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 rumble. Huge footprints appeared at the bottom of the cliff. The mysterious man, who could no longer maintain his divinized state, madly transformed into his demonic form, soared up from below, his sharp claws tearing the sky and splitting the earth. Instead of retreating, he fiercely attacked Yu Yang. In despair, he wanted to die together with Yu Yang. Duoduo's petal giant and Little One Li's golden snake demon statue worked together to resist. Above the 9th heaven, unknowingly, Jiang Ying, who had transformed into the form of a hornless dragon, swooped down from the sky with the destructive power of the dragon god. The petal giant and the golden snake demon statue, who had joined forces to attack in their demonic form, immediately cooperated to counterattack. One on the left and one on the right, they pressed down on the mysterious man in his demonic form. The demonic form that could freely change between real and fake. Under their will, they could no longer turn into phantoms that could ignore all attacks. The mysterious, demonized man watched helplessly as the hornless dragon girl, who seemed to be hanging upside down from the 9 heavens, swallowed down with the power of the dragon god. Oh no, the mysterious man struggled with all his might, narrowly escaping from being swallowed up by his head and upper body. The parts below his chest and abdomen, however, were swallowed by the power of the dragon god. All swallowed up. For a moment, the mysterious man, who could not even maintain his demonic form, reverted to his first beast form. The mysterious man, who only had half of his body left, fell to the ground in pain and despair. At this moment, the shadow of death struck his heart, a fear that he had never felt before, a pressure that he had never experienced before, at this moment, occupied his entire mind. If tears could make up for everything, then the mysterious man was willing to cry. If he had known that he would end up like this, he would not have come a mountain beyond mountain. Yu Taitan, the junior of Tong Tian Tower. No matter how much he made a fuss, he was determined to ignore him. Unfortunately, all regrets came too late, too late. There were many paths to choose from in the world. At the crossroads, anyone could make his decision according to his personal will. But once the choice was made, no one could reverse it. There was no going back, because this was the result of his own choice. The mysterious man could not have come to Mountain Beyond Mountain, could not have chased after Yu Yang, could not have set up this trap. If that was the case, he could have lived freely. No one knew his identity. No one knew that he was one of the attackers back then. No one knew that he had the Holy Grimoire, 3-God Mirror, and 5-God Mirror. But he chose this way, from the beginning of his contemptuous pursuit to now, to the last abyss of his life journey, standing in front of this cliff of death. He could no longer turn back. This road of despair was his own choice. He could not blame others. If he wanted to blame, he could only blame his own arrogance at the beginning. 1. Let's die together. Do you want to kill me? Ha 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 ha. You are too naive. Not only you, I want the entire life of Mountain Beyond Mountain to be buried with me. The mysterious man's body swelled abnormally and terrifyingly, like a rubber ball, expanding infinitely. Self-destruct. Yu Yang stopped Duo and Little One Li from leading him back to the grimoire world to take refuge. Not only did he not avoid it, he rushed forward like a madman. Amidst the mysterious man's smug laughter, Yu Yang punched himself in the heart, imitating Ji Zun's sort of life, spitting out a mouthful of blood and overdrawing all his strength to condense it into a giant golden dragon, biting towards the mysterious man who had already swelled into a ball and could self-destruct at any time. After releasing this Wang, Lung Yuan formed from the purest blood of the true dragon's heart. Yu Yang could not wait for the return of the giant golden dragon. He had already fainted from exhaustion, falling from the sky, until he was caught by Little One Li, who had rushed over in her arms. When the mysterious man saw the giant golden dragon, he roared in despair. He could not wait for the last of his divine power to gather, and frantically self-destructed. The moment the divine power shock wave of the self-destruction exploded, the giant golden dragon had already arrived. Like swallowing a Dragon Ball, it opened its mouth and swallowed all the energy in one gulp. Chapter 1206. Jiwuri stood up, wondering if it was an illusion. If it weren't for the marks left by his hands on the ground, Jiwuri would have thought that everything he had just discovered was an illusion. Now, the pressure disappeared, and the world returned to normal. Jiwuri raised his eyes and looked at the direction of the supreme pressure. It was quiet, and there was no sign of abnormality. Was that supreme pressure released by the mysterious man just now? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. If the mysterious man could release such pressure, then there was no need for him to fight. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't escape death. Perhaps it was an unknown ancient master who had been hiding in the outer mountain for tens of thousands of years. Because of the arrogance of the mysterious man and the destructive power of this battle of gods, he angrily released the supreme pressure. If so, the arrogant, mysterious man who tried to run amok in the outer mountain was very likely to be killed by the awakened ancient god. After all, compare with the ancient god whose power overwhelmed all living beings in the outer mountain. No matter how strong the mysterious man was, he couldn't be killed by the ancient god's finger. The mysterious man might be dead now. Even if he wasn't, at the very least, he had been seriously injured. In other words, he was completely safe now, and he was no longer threatened by the imminent death of the mysterious man. The ecstatic Jiwuri's heart beat faster with excitement. He forcibly restrained himself from using the divine light guidance, which was a special teleportation light of the central shrine, and tried not to expose his identity and the symbol of the central shrine. Even the central shrine didn't want an awakened ancient god to come to them and vent his anger on their own forces. No matter how stupid Jiwuri was, he wouldn't make trouble for the central shrine. He carefully split the space, not daring to break it with the heavenly weapon, for fear that the awakened ancient god would see through his existence. 1 teleportation, 2 teleportations, Such a careful teleportation, the distance was no more than dozens of kilometers each time, and the efficiency was extremely low. But Jiwuri would rather spend a year to get away than be discovered by the ancient god. Until he was nearly 20,000 kilometers away, Jiwuri felt that it was far enough. Then he became a little bolder. Every teleportation would cover a distance of several hundred kilometers, increasing the teleportation efficiency. He didn't know how many times he had teleported, but when Jiwuri started to feel mentally exhausted, he finally arrived at the receiving platform in Outer Mountain. Flowing Light and Horror, who had previously split up to look for Forget-Not, had already completed their mission. Together with Forget-Not, who was originally disguised as the Prophet's special envoy, they rushed to the receiving platform and waited in the valley ahead. Good. It's good that you're back. When Jiwuri saw Flowing Light, Terror, and Forget-Not, he was overjoyed. Although we did not obtain the final victory in this battle of gods, we have achieved part of our goal. I'm very happy that all of you survived in a battle that we couldn't win against. Flowing Light and Terror had followed Jiwuri into the battle, so they naturally knew how difficult it was to escape with their lives. They bowed and turned into golden light, returning to Jiwuri's grimoire world. And don't forget, always outside, he was carrying out the secret mission that Jiwuri had previously assigned him. Before he returned to the grimoire world, he solemnly handed an item to Jiwuri. When Jiwuri saw it, he immediately beamed with joy. He nodded and praised. Well done. You've gathered so much forbidden energy. Not only did you complete it, you've also far exceeded my expectations. With this, not only can Terror regain his peak strength, we can also advance to a higher realm. It's rare. You've done very well. Don't Forget pretended to be humble, but he couldn't hide his pride. He smiled and said, "It's not that Don't did well, it's that the people in Outer Mountain are stupid. Those foolish people actually think that there's something in this world that can be reaped without sowing. It's their huge greed that made us successful. All right, but it's very dangerous in Outer Mountain now. It's better for us to leave as soon as possible." Jiwuri nodded in agreement. If not for the mysterious man's arrival, he was prepared to reap even more benefits in this god's war. But now, it was time for them to leave. As strong as the mysterious man was, it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The evil deities Wei Guang, who tried to come out from the seal of the ancient passage, was already terrifying enough. But what was even more terrifying was that the god's war had actually alarmed an unknown and sleeping ancient god. Jiwuri now hoped that after the mysterious man was killed, the ancient god would shift his attention to the evil deities Wei Guang. No matter how great the benefits were, he definitely couldn't stay here and wade in this muddy water anymore. Don't forget to report, but seeing that Jiwuri was determined to leave, he immediately turned into a ray of golden light. Returning to the grimoire, Jiwuri kept the glorious grimoire. His body flew across the sky like a meteor, flying straight to the teleportation door on the receiving platform of Outer Mountain. Just as the Lord of the Central Shrine was about to turn into a ray of light and enter the teleportation door to leave Outer Mountain, suddenly, the two tiny fragments of the ancient relics that were placed under the teleportation door emitted a dazzling brilliance, forming a light screen. Expand. It enveloped the space of 1,000 meters. The golden light that Jiwuri was about to teleport away stopped and revealed his real body. With a little astonishment and a little realization, he floated down on the ground that had quickly transformed into the god-destroying domain. So it's you. Jiwuri finally understood who was scheming against him. That's right, it's me. A faint voice that seemed to come from the 9 heavens rang beside Jiwuri's ears. Listening to the tone, it sounded like they were meeting an old friend. But Jiwuri's expression instantly turned serious. He was even more serious than when he was fighting against Yang. Why did you do this? I have never thought of stealing your position as a Heaven Realm great leader. Haven't we been working together happily? Why would you scheme against me? Moreover, do you think that this level of scheming will work? The owner of the faint voice didn't answer. In the sky, there was a sizzling sound. In the space that had already transformed into the god-destroying domain, A terrifying black hole that sucked in everything was forcefully torn open. Countless electric arcs and the twisting nomological power of the God-destroying domain collided with the power inside the black hole. At the edge of the black hole, there was a destructive and mutated undulation. A strange man surrounded by black lightning, with a god-power whirlpool that could also be formed in the black hole behind him, and a black light that could ignore the suppression of the black hole and the god-destroying domain, floated out from the void. His body was like an even more terrifying black hole, continuously sucking in the light of the outside world into his body. Compared to the black hole that was torn open, it looked more like a black hole that swallowed everything in the world. His voice was first spoken, transmitted out by the undying sovereign's will. But when it reached Ji-Wuri's ears, because he lost the protection of the sovereign's will, before the voice disappeared, it was already forcefully absorbed back into the black hole space in his body. That was why it created such an inconceivable and faint voice that seemed to come from the nine heavens. His face couldn't be seen clearly. He also couldn't see this person's form, and couldn't see this person's true strength. Ji-Wuri had known so many people in his life, but this person in front of him was the most mysterious. This person was even more mysterious than his master, the mysterious person who was almost undefeatable until he was suppressed by the awakened ancient great god. This person's name was, of course, Jiu Shao. Other than this, Ji-Wuri didn't know any more information about him. Even if he had found out a little, he didn't dare to confirm it. Ji-Wuri was extremely suspicious that the other party was purposely spreading false information to mislead him. In the Heaven Realm, among the same generation, Ji-Wuri had a few competitors that he feared. However, they were more like old enemies than friends. The one he feared the most was one of the three great leaders that he often cooperated with, but was extremely wary of, Jiu Shao. It's not a useful scheme that is worth making a move. That year, even though you knew it was useless, didn't you still scheme against me, pushing me to the opposite side of the prison emperor, letting me fight against the war god with the three divine weapons? Every time I think of the thousands of years of being sealed, I can't help but want to repay you. Jiu Shao, who was standing in the middle of the black hole, slowly said, Ji-Wuri, you don't want to snatch the position of the great leader of the Heaven Realm because you have a better target. Furthermore, there is a genius girl that you are very afraid of. That genius girl is not inferior to you, or even better than you, blocking your path to success. Before you cross this hurdle, you need me and the void to help you remove this beautiful stumbling block. Of course, we will cooperate happily, but pity me and void. We are like two idiots being used by you time and time again. My dear friend, Ji-Wuri, what do you think I am? Am I really a natural big idiot? If I didn't need to cooperate with Palace Master Dongfang's plan, I would have found trouble with you since I came back from Tongtian Tower. Why would I wait until today? It's rare that you actually endured until today for revenge. Ji-Wuri's expression changed at first, but he quickly laughed out loud and clapped his hands in praise. You should know that my patience has always been very good. Jiu Shao snorted mockingly, especially the preparation and waiting process to pull down a high and mighty opponent from the altar. The preparation and waiting process might take a little longer, but I enjoy it very much. Ah, you, who ran back from Tongtian Tower like a drowning dog. Have you completely recovered now? Ji-Wuri went tit for tat, raising his lips to retort. I believe that you won't be disappointed. Jiu Shao was not angry at all. His heart was as still as water. While Ji-Wuri and Jiu Shao were facing off, Yu Yang was dreaming. He dreamt that the golden dragon, who had swallowed the mysterious beast man who had self-destructed, looked like it had eaten a fire-breathing pepper. Its stomach swelled up and a pillar of fire shot out from its mouth. The scales on its body also exploded and scattered all over the sky. However, all kinds of strange things could happen in a dream. It was clear that the dragon scales had exploded 1 second, but in the next second, everything had instantly returned to normal. The golden dragon recovered to its original state. It even swam back. Shaking its head, it spat out a huge dragon pearl. That dragon pearl almost crushed him. The strangest thing was that before the golden dragon dissipated in the dream, it still painfully spat out a ball of black light. In that black light, the mysterious man's soul was actually hidden. This guy was clearly dead, but in the dream, he was still alive. Furthermore, this guy even proudly declared that he would take revenge. After he recovered his divine power, he would use the black light to annihilate the entire Tong Tian Tower. Yu Yang was very angry. Even though this was a dream and not real, he still felt very angry in his heart. Yet in a dream, everything he did was out of his control. He wanted to trample on this old fellow like how he would trample on a cockroach. However, a strange thing happened as soon as he thought of this. This old fellow actually hid in the black light and ran away at an extremely fast speed. Duo, Shaowen Li, and the others couldn't catch up to him no matter what. Yu Yang was very anxious. That was one of the 5 color divine lights that he had been searching for many years. Black and green were each one of the 5 color divine lights. He was just preparing to combine them. How could it fall into the hands of this old guy? This was really too unreasonable. Yu Yang was so anxious that he stomped his feet. However, this was just a dream. He couldn't chase after him. His body was as heavy as lead, and he couldn't move no matter what. Just when he was complaining about why no one beside him woke him up, suddenly, he heard a chirp that sounded like the sound of nature. It was very familiar, as if he had heard this kind of beautiful, indescribable, heavenly chirp before, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Following that, 2 cute Lolas who looked very familiar, but he couldn't name them, brought back the black light and obediently placed it in front of him. At that time, he was so excited that he wanted to kiss them. Before he could move, there was another big Lolas who looked equally familiar and was so angry that he almost called out her name, but swallowed it back. She actually mischievously reached out her hand and snatched the black light away. If he caught this little girl, he would definitely spank her little, but until it was mush. This was too infuriating. Yu Yang decided that when he woke up from his dream, he would find her to settle the score. Spank her little butt. See if she still dared to be mischievous. However, he had been dreaming for so long. Why hadn't he woken up yet? Chapter 12:07. When Yu Yang woke up, he realized that he had returned to the grimoire world and was lying on the bed. Beside him, there was only sickly Beauty. She was sleeping soundly in front of the bed. He didn't know what she was dreaming about, but there was actually a sweet smile on her lips. Yu Yang pitifully caressed her little face and helped her tidy up the few strands of hair that were hanging down her forehead. He then quietly got off the bed and carried this sickly Beauty, who was so soft that it seemed as if she had no bones, into his warm blanket. Sickly Beauty seemed to feel something, but she didn't wake up from her dream. She only moved her body slightly and adjusted her posture. She habitually hugged Yu Yang with her jade-like hands and hummed, just like how she usually did when she was sleeping with Yu Yang. If she was awake, although she was as gentle as water, her words and actions were like a good wife and mother. She paid attention to her image and wouldn't do anything that was out of line. It was especially so in front of Princess Qian and the others. However, when she was asleep, this made Yu Yang feel completely different. In her dreams, sickly Beauty especially liked to cling on to people, hugging them with her hands and feet. Sometimes, she would even lie on Yu Yang's pillow, nestling her head in his embrace and sleeping for the whole night. That kind of feeling wasn't like her. It was more like Bao Er, that kind of heartless little girl who played around all day. Of course, this was actually sickly Beauty's real behavior. During the day, she wanted to set an example for everyone. That was why she worked so hard to be a good wife. At night, there was only him and her. Naturally, she returned to her natural self. If Yu or Princess Sisai were here, it was guaranteed that sickly Beauty would sleep more peacefully than anyone else. She definitely wouldn't hug Yu Yang and make him unable to get out of bed. Be good, I'm going to take a bath. I'll be back soon. Yu Yang kissed sickly Beauty's forehead and gently released her hands. All this time, what had puzzled him was that she was clearly not awake, but she seemed to be able to hear voices. As long as he made a promise or needed to do something, she would cooperate in her sleep. She didn't even need to make a sound. She only needed to make a few movements. This was even more amazing than telepathy. The most unbelievable thing was that if Yu Yang were to ask about sickly beauty the next day, she would definitely not remember. She had no impression at all. He opened the door and was about to dive into the mirror lake in front of the house. Suddenly, he noticed Yu Yu's blushing face. It came into view. The two of them were startled at the same time, but they immediately reacted and smiled at each other. Yu Yu stretched out her white finger and pretended to be angry. She bit her finger and knocked on Yu Yang's head to punish him for scaring her. You, not only do you make people worry all day, you even walk in such a hurry. Who would fight with you? How old are you? Why are you still like a child? I just woke up and my mind is still a little muddled. I didn't notice you were outside. Yu Yang reacted quickly and subconsciously grabbed her hand. Let go. Yu Yu quickly broke free as if she had been electrocuted and rolled her eyes at him. Where are Tigress and the others? Yu Yang quickly changed the topic to avoid embarrassment. Bing Yin said that there is a crack in the seal at the god-vanquishing secret land. The evil deity's Wei Guang is about to squeeze in from there. Qian Qian and the others are going to take a look. Yu Yu's words shocked Yu Yang. What was there to take a look at? The evil deity's Wei Guang could not be defeated at all. Zhou Zhao's master, the mysterious man, was hard enough. According to Qilin Girl Bing Yin's estimation, the evil deity's Wei Guang was even stronger than the mysterious man. Princess Sisai and the others were rushing to the god-vanquishing secret land now. For the time being, let's not talk about whether they could make it in time before the evil deity's Wei Guang squeezed out. Even if they could, there was no way to stop it. Why don't you stop them? Yu Yang did not want anything to happen to them. He could not even bear to lose a hair. Duo and Jiangying are accompanying them. Besides, they are just going to take a look. If they can't beat them, they can still run away. Yu Yu comforted Yu Yang instead. Not good enough, Yu Yang said after a long time. He thought so too. Even if they couldn't beat them, they could just run away as fast as they could, right? However, the conclusion of the battle with the mysterious man was that even if they wanted to run, they could not. If they encountered a divine supreme master, if they could not beat them, they could forget about running away. They would definitely die in the battle against the mysterious person. If the mysterious person had not been too arrogant at the beginning and had not used any of the three forms of beast, demon, or deified, and had only used one finger at the beginning. If the mysterious person had used his deified form from the beginning, with the 3 god mirrors, 5 god bells, and black light, and attacked with all his might, no one present could have withstood his attack. The mysterious man failed because he was too arrogant and thought that he could easily overwhelm everyone with his basic strength. However, he did not expect that there was a pervert like Yu Yang, who could not exert the power of 3 god mirrors, 5 god bells, and black light. The second reason was because Qilin Girl Bing Yin snatched the 3 god mirrors and then sealed the 5 god bells with the lies of the 4 lord gods, Deicide, Zhao Shi, Qing Yun, and Frost Cold. The third reason was that he did not have time to take out the treasure, one of the 5 god lights, black light, which was flattened by Yu Yang's giant of fate. When he wanted to use black light, he did not have his deified form and even his demonified form. He could only self-destruct in his beast form and use black light to save his life. Unfortunately, the Phoenix sisters snatched black light. It was a tragedy to be like the mysterious man. It was really not much. The pitiful guy in the soaring dragon continent, whose body was taken away by the ancient demon king and whose identity was replaced by Yu Yang, was not as tragic as the mysterious man. His precious name of pitiful guy could actually be transferred to the current mysterious man. By the way, my black light was snatched away by that little girl Bing Yin. My heart is cold. Yu Yang suddenly remembered the details of the dream and suddenly beat his chest and stamped his feet. It was not easy to find the whereabouts of the 5 god lights, black light. He did not expect that it would be snatched away by Qilin Girl Bing Yin before he got it. Really, how could he let a little robber like her live in? Bing Yin was just curious, so I took it to have a look. Well, isn't this? Yu Yu took out something from the storage bracelet. It was one of the 5 godlights that Yu Yang dreamed of, black light. Wow! Yu Yang was so happy that he hugged Yu Yu and kissed her hard. Xiao San, Yu Yu, who was ashamed and annoyed, had no time to criticize. Yu Yang grabbed her little hand again and asked excitedly, I had a dream just now. I dreamed that Yin took away my black light. Now the black light is back, which proves that it was not a dream. But if it was not a dream just now, is it a dream now? Sister, do you think I'm dreaming now? There's no reason. If it's not a dream, how could that little robber Yin return the treasure that she stole? It's too suspicious. Yes, I must be dreaming now. This is a dream. This is a dream. But this dream is so real. You didn't know whether to laugh or cry because of this third brother. She held back her laughter. She stood on tiptoe and knocked on his head with her fingers. Yu Yang looked up in astonishment. Yu Yu snorted proudly. How is it? Does it hurt? If it doesn't hurt, it proves that it's a dream. It doesn't hurt, right? Then I'll use more strength. The guy from another world was fascinated by the charming smile of the sister who rarely showed naughty gentleness. After a long time, he touched his head foolishly and muttered to himself, That's not right. Why do I feel a little pain? You definitely didn't feel it clearly. Yu Yu raised her hand, indicating that she wanted to knock harder so that Yu Yang could feel it clearly. Don't hit me. Even if it's a dream, you can't bully me. If you beat me until I become stupid, you'll have to support me for a lifetime. Yu Yang reacted. Who will support you for a lifetime? If you become stupid, I will starve you every day. Or I'll give you a small bowl and let you beg on the street. It's freezing cold and you'll wear ragged clothes. I'll let you tremble nonstop. Yu Yu was overjoyed even before she finished speaking. In her mind, she imagined the pitiful and funny appearance of this little mistress holding a small bowl and begging on the street. Yu Yang's heart broke when he heard this. He gloomily squatted down at the corner of the door and drew circles. From afar, perhaps he saw Yu Yang. Bao Er, who was riding the water-type swan battle puppet in the lake, was more like playing than training. She excitedly rode the swan battle puppet and flew over. It would be fine if she could fly, but she just had to control it to run. The swan battle puppet, which was originally not good at running, let her ride it like a horse. Her speed was not slow either. Seeing this, Yu Yang and Yu Yu both felt dizzy. They were worried for this little girl and hoped that she wouldn't fall. Bang! As expected, Bao Er fell down. She was actually quite agile. The moment she fell to the ground, she jumped out and even took the opportunity to jump towards Yu Yang. In midair, she opened her arms wide. Big scoundrel, catch me. Yu Yang was helpless. He could only hand the black light to Yu Yu and hold the naughty little girl down with both hands. He pressed the little girl between his knees and prepared to spank her little, but as a punishment. The swan battle puppet flipped over because of its momentum. It continuously adjusted its wings and continued to rush forward. Yu Yang hurriedly let go of Bao Er and used his hands to block the battle puppet that was charging towards him. The swan battle puppet successfully blocked it. With Yu Yang's skillful help, it flew up into the sky and avoided an accident. However, Bao Er, who fell to the ground with a paw sound, gave him another big problem. When she fell, she grabbed wildly with both hands. Although she reacted quickly, she didn't grab the right place. She accidentally pulled down Yu Yang's pants, who was only wearing a pair of boxers and was preparing to swim in the lake. This time, the three of them stared at each other, not knowing what to do. The true form of a male was revealed. Because it was full of energy after it was freed from its restraints, it jumped out and shook its head arrogantly. It was simply insufferably arrogant. Bauer, the little girl, had her mouth wide open for a long time. When she regained her senses, the first reaction she had was not embarrassment, but realization. She was like a curious person who had been searching for a secret and had finally realized what she had been hoping for. So this is the truth. After that, she was afraid that Yu Yang would beat her up. She slowly climbed up and looked at Yu Yang cautiously. Before he could reach out to grab her, she immediately ran away like a frightened deer. She even covered her face and shouted, "I didn't see anything, don't hit me." Only after running for 1,000 meters did she feel embarrassed. Her face was flushed red and burning hot. Chapter 12:08. Black Day hid in his grimoire world and stared blankly for a long time. Finally, he clenched his teeth. He decided to go out and fight. Hiding in the grimoire world, although his life was not in danger, this was the end of his life. For an ambitious person like him, women and wealth were not things that could touch his heart. Only power, supreme power, was what he was infatuated with. If a person wanted to have supreme power, he must have the power to control supreme power. Otherwise, everything would be empty talk. As the Western godlord, Black Day felt that life was the most precious when he could not protect his life. However, now that he was safe, he realized that he was just living in emptiness. That was even more terrifying. He had lost everything, had nothing, and was just a walking corpse. Was that what Black Day needed? In the span of a few hours, Black Day reflected on it no less than 1,000 times. Just a few hours, and he could not stand the loneliness, not to mention a few years, a few hundred years, a few thousand years. Should he continue to hide and live, or go out and fight to see if he could change his life? If it wasn't for that supreme and majestic, mysterious power, then Black Day wouldn't even consider it. But after experiencing the power, Black Day had a bold suspicion in his heart. The invincible, mysterious person might already be dead. He did not know the reason. Maybe the ancient great god did not like the mysterious person's arrogance. Maybe the trial ground itself had a kind of protective power. Maybe it was some other reason. No matter what, that mysterious person who had swept through everything and looked down on all living beings must have been destroyed by the supreme divine power. The mysterious person was killed. Titan Yu, Jiwuri, Deicide, and the others also could not escape death. Titan Yu, Jiwuri, Deicide, and the others. They might have been killed by the mysterious person. Otherwise, the mysterious person would not have angered the protective power of the trial ground. He must have killed the peerless genius Yu Titan, who had a high chance of passing the trial, and Jiwuri, the #1 genius of the Central Divine Palace. Excessive slaughter, especially the mad slaughter of the talented juniors favored by the heavens, had angered the ancient great gods. The ancient great god that guarded the trial ground descended and annihilated this arrogant old ghost. As such, the mountain outside the mountain would return to its previous state. It was impossible for the ancient great god to stay. Opponents such as the mysterious man, Jiwuri, Titan Yu, and Deicide probably no longer existed. As for the remaining Zhao Shi, Frostcold, and Qin Yun, no one knew if they were still alive. They might have been killed by the mysterious man like Deicide. Even if they survived, they wouldn't be a match for him. The most important thing was, if he went out now, even if he couldn't defeat them, he believed that no one would be able to stop him if he wanted to escape. The only thing that he felt was a bit wasteful and a bit of a pity was that he had meticulously set up the hidden tracks to confuse outsiders. Black Day gritted his teeth. He decided to leave the grimoire world and return to Mountain Beyond Mountain. If Deicide also died in this divine war, then the Mountain Beyond Mountain would belong to him. I, Black Day, was born to be the first person. If I can't become the first person in the Mountain Beyond Mountain, then I'd rather die than be a coward. Black Day decided to take a gamble and return to the martial world. Of course, he was not stupid enough to rush back to the battlefield immediately. Instead, he went to the God Extermination secret territory immediately. Before his strength was restored, he felt that he should go to the God Extermination secret territory to see if he could absorb the ancient remnant divine power there to speed up his recovery, so that he could achieve his goal of competing and ruling the mountain beyond mountain faster. He escaped too early and didn't hear what the Qilin girl Bingyin said. If he knew that the ancient sealed passage in the God Extermination secret territory was being squeezed in by the evil deities Wei Guang, who was even more terrifying than the mysterious man, he was sure that he would have the same idea as before. He would rather die of old age in the grimoire world than participate in the battle for the mountain beyond mountain. Once the scar healed, they would forget the pain. Even ordinary people were like this. Not to mention the ambitious Overlord Black Day, who couldn't live without power or fight for a day. Could his fighting heart, his desire for fame and fortune, let him live in seclusion? The answer: of course not. Under the Storm Fortress, the war between the East and West camps was in full swing. After the unparalleled pressure, the soldiers on both sides felt the fear of destruction. If there was no war, they would all escape in panic. But now that they were on the battlefield, no one could escape smoothly. They could only turn the fear in their hearts into a frenzied killing. They used the slaughter, the blood, and the death of their enemies to cover up the fear in their hearts. Kill, kill, charge. The eyes of the soldiers on both sides were bloodshot. They desperately waved the weapons in their hands at the enemy, like a wounded bull that had lost its mind. In their eyes, there was only killing. The disadvantage of the East camp was slightly reduced, because most of the suspended motherships had crashed into the ground under the unparalleled pressure. They couldn't return to normal operation in a short period of time. Most of them had withdrawn from the battle. The East camp's fleet was at a complete disadvantage in terms of numbers. Because everyone had no ships, the situation was even. They were no longer in the predicament of being suppressed by the West camp and unable to retaliate. In fact, with the Big Swan, the only ship that could fight in the sky, it didn't need to be operated by human hands and could be operated by the Black Tortoise Guards. The East camp still had a slight advantage in some areas where the suspended motherships were fighting. The people on the Big Swan were under the pressure, but it was built by Yu Yang, so it was not damaged. The Black Tortoise Guards, the Black Tortoise Giant, and the Black Tortoise Spirit. It could even be strengthened to a certain extent. It could only fly. But before the West camp's fleet regained its mobility and took to the sky, it would be the only spaceship on the battlefield. Just this alone was enough for the East camp's soldiers to fight back against the West camp soldiers. One side relied on the natural defenses, while the other side relied on absolute numbers to attack. The battle was fierce. It wasn't up to them to decide when the battle would end. They believed that before the final result of the War of Gods came out, no matter how severe the casualties were, they would continue. It was precisely because of this awareness that every commander and every single soldier clenched their teeth and persevered, quietly waiting for the divine master of their country to obtain the final victory and free themselves. Before that, all the enemies and threats in front of them had to be eliminated. It was either the enemy's death or their own. If anyone had the slightest bit of mercy, it would be the cruelest thing they could do to their own lives. The East and West camp soldiers, who were more numerous than ants, used their flesh, blood, and lives to put on a divine duet. There was one thing that was similar. In front of the escort platform, there were two people fighting with their lives on the line. Every move they made was fatal, and they resorted to all means. They were, of course, Jiu Shao, who had deliberately ambushed Ji Wuri, and Ji Wuri, the former #1 genius of the Central Shrine, who had suffered a series of setbacks and was now trying to escape from the Outer Mountains. Be it in terms of scheming or strength, the two of them were natural enemies who had met their match in a chess match. It would be impossible to determine the winner without 100 days. But Jiu Shao was not in a hurry. He felt that he had plenty of time. The longer the time, the more advantageous it would be for him. When his master returned victorious, it would be the time of Ji Wuri's death. He only needed to use all his strength to delay him, and he would be able to obtain the final victory. Ji Wuri also thought the same. He also felt that the longer the battle lasted, the better. He knew that the mysterious man would not be able to come back alive. The longer the time passed, the better his guardian beast resentment would recover. If he had the help of resentment, he would be able to defeat Jiu Shao. Even the current Jiu Shao would not be a problem. The two fellows with ulterior motives, besides fighting with all their strength, were also planning their own plans. In their plans, they were the final victors. Splash! Yu Yang, who had swum in the lake, came out of the water and wiped his face. Yu Yu, who was on the shore, handed him a towel and criticized him snappily. Your body has not recovered yet. If it was someone else, they would have to lie in bed for at least 10 days to half a month. But you, as soon as you woke up, you got up and swam in the water. This is not good for your recovery. Yes, I was wrong. But after a battle, if I don't take a bath, I will feel uncomfortable all over. Yu Yang smiled and wiped the water stains on his face. He then made a gesture of mercy to Yu Yu, indicating that he would not dare to do it again. Tigress and the others have not caught up yet. IKA and Future have caught up long ago. However, Qian and the others said that they would not go to the god-vanquishing secret realm, so they will go to the Storm Fortress to take a look. Deicide and the others used their lives to seal the 5-god clock for you and save the battle situation. They said that they could not sit idly by and do nothing about the eastern camp, so they must return this favor. Yu Yu made her darling brother, who was the most distressed and troubled, lie down and let him rest. She then sat beside him and massaged his body, which had been overdrawn in battle. Although with the recovery of Nirvana Flame and innate sword chi, no matter how heavily injured his body was, it would recover to its original state. However, she still felt particularly distressed when she saw him, but she could not stop him. Every time he fought outside and risked his life against a strong enemy, she would be deeply worried. This brat was the brother that she could not let go of the most in her life. If she did not see him for a day, she would not feel at ease. Why? They're not really dead. They just lost their bodies, but don't their consciousness and souls still exist? Yu Yang admired Deicide and the other sacrifice. This feat touched his heart greatly, but he definitely would not admit it with his mouth. Who can give up their body for others? Deicide and the others are actually a kind of inheritance. Tai Yin and Bingley were like this back then. In our Tong Tian Tower, many seniors are also like this, selflessly sacrificing themselves for the younger generation. This is a kind of inheritance revelation that we must understand. Besides, unless you have a way to unlock the sealed god clock, otherwise they will never be able to come out. Isn't it the same as dying in battle? They have even broken the contract with their own divine equipment. Even if they can be unsealed in the future, they will not be able to recover their human bodies. Without a human body, without a divine spark, no one knows what will happen to them in the end. Yu Yu sighed slightly. She was very grateful to these rankers who used their lives to help her brother, but there was no possibility of expressing it. Even if she said a word of thanks, Deicide and the others, whose souls were also sealed in the sealed god clock, would not be able to hear it. Maybe they'll be able to come out smoothly in the future. They might even be able to comprehend the real god realm in the seal and obtain the real godhead. Who knows? Yu Yang said an ending that even he himself didn't believe. I hope so. Yu Yu felt that if that was really the case, unless an ancient great god like the Supreme Dragon God came, it would be impossible. Under her gentle massage, Yu Yang gradually felt sleepy and fell into a deep sleep. Sound sleep. Looking at Yu Yang's naturally relaxed face, Yu gently took out her own, cloak from her storage bracelet, and slowly covered his body. She knew that her baby brother had too many things on his back. It was already very rare for him to sleep so easily like this. She often saw him maintaining a high level of vigilance in order to cultivate or fight. He would immediately wake up from his light sleep at the slightest movement. Occasionally, she would also see him hiding in the shadows, with a kind of heartbreaking loneliness on his face. What made her feel happy was because everyone was around him, and because she was under his care. He was resting better and better now. He was sleeping very peacefully. The kind of heartbreaking sadness had also gradually decreased. She could only see it occasionally. Maybe he was missing Fourth Mother, Shuang and the others at home. Or maybe he was missing his mother. Even if he didn't say it, she knew him the most. Chapter 1209. When Yu Yang woke up again, he found that his body was much better. Although his vitality had not fully recovered from the fight with the mysterious man, he had recovered most of it. Sickly Beauty and Yu were not around. As soon as he went out, seeing Qilin Girl Bing Yin rushing to him, Yu Yang was shocked and quickly dodged. Bing Yin was so happy to see him so scared. Give me back the 3 gods mirror. Yu Yang saw that this girl was in a good mood and tried to get the 3 gods mirror back. Although he knew it was impossible, he had to try. After all, it was one of the 6 artifacts, the 3 gods' mirror. Thinking about it made him feel distressed. I don't care. The good and evil sides of the divine mirror have been separated. After such a long time of different refining and contracts, I'm afraid they can't be combined now. I don't care about this broken thing. I'll give it back to you. Chilling girl Bing really returned the back of the 3 gods' mirror evil that she had snatched away to Yu Yang. The shock made Yu Yang's body tremble violently, and he was dumbfounded. She was so easy to talk to. Did the sun rise from the west today? Or did I not wake up? Yu Yang reached out and pinched Chilling girl Bing Yin's little face. It felt good, smooth as jade. But looking at the girl's smiling face, she didn't bump her head. He couldn't help but sigh. It's really a dream. I know there's no such good thing. I say, Sister Bing Yin, you can play tricks on me in reality, but you can let me go in the dream. Chilling girl Bing Yin suddenly bowed her head. Suddenly, Yu Yang was knocked 10 meters away. Yu Yang bounced up, opened his mouth wide, and looked surprised for a long time. Then he touched the place where his chest was hit. Hey, it hurts. This is not a dream. Sickly Beauty and Yu, who appeared behind him, covered their mouths and laughed. With the 3 gods' mirror in hand, Yu Yang was generous and didn't care too much about the girl Bing Yin. Although the 3 gods' mirror had only obtained the evil side, Yu Yang suspected that the spirit mirror that Yin had contracted in the 12 zodiac temples was the good side of the 3 gods' mirror. It was just that the spirit mirror had been broken and its power was greatly reduced, which was why it appeared in the form of a spirit mirror. If this was the case, then he had to find a way to combine the two and reproduce the brilliance of the mirror. Sister Anan's strength would definitely be improved. As if she had seen through Yu Yang's thoughts, Chilling girl Bing Yin pouted her pink lips. Don't be silly. The two can't be combined at all. I tried it as soon as I came back, but I still lack a lot of things. For her words, Yu Yang didn't doubt, but he didn't give up. Yang thought. Yu Yang. There was a flash of inspiration in his mind. Yu Yang firmly grasped this opportunity. The northern divine lord of the outer mountains, Zhao Shi, has a true wonder divine mirror, which is a divine equipment. Maybe I can use it to fill in the missing part of the 3 divine mirror. If Zhao Shi was not dead and the true wonder divine mirror recognized him as its master, Yu Yang naturally couldn't rob it. But now Zhao Shi's soul was sealed in the 5 gods' clock, and the true wonder divine mirror was completely entrusted to Yu Yang. Yu Yang certainly wouldn't be polite to him. Hey, Chilling girl Bing Yin was tempted. She moved faster than anyone else. She grabbed the true wonder divine mirror and the back part of the 3 gods' mirror evil from Yu Yang and flew away, leaving only a sentence echoing in the ears of Yu Yang. Yu and Sickly Beauty. Big bad guy. I'll borrow your sister Anan for a few days. I'll give it back to you when it's over. Yu Yang was so angry that he really wanted to hit this girl's little ass. Borrowing things from the sky, borrowing things from the ground. How could he borrow from his wife? Fortunately, she was a silly girl. Otherwise, Yu Yang would have vomited blood and died. I'll borrow it from you for a few days, and then I'll return it with interest. Interest? Naturally, it's that silly girl. While Yu Yang was still thinking about it, the Chilling girl flew back again and spread out her pink little hands. Bring me that heaven's heart again. I've thought of a way. If you add your sister Bing Air with her life force, it's a waste of time to explain to a fool like you. Hurry up. Let me sister Bing Air for a few days. Wow, I actually thought of such a good idea. I'm really too smart. The narcissistic Chilling girl ignored the angry eyes of the guy from another world and forcefully snatched the quasi-divine weapon, Heaven's Heart, left by the Lord Qin Yun. While cheering proudly, she skipped away, leaving Yu Yang behind. He squatted on the ground and drew circles gloomily. Not only did she borrow Anan's sweet and cute little wife, she also wanted to borrow his cute sister. This girl was too hateful. Didn't she think that she didn't even have enough interest? Sickly Beauty and Yu hurriedly stopped the guy from going berserk. He then prepared a sumptuous feast, turning his grief and anger into strength, venting his anger on the food. That's right. While they were having a sumptuous feast, the Chilling girl rushed into the house again. Yu Yang almost cried. Girl, Just how many girls do you need to borrow to do one thing? The Qilin girl, who didn't have any self-awareness, squeezed herself to Yu Yang's side. Her little finger that was as white as jade poked at Yu Yang's chest cutely, almost poking a heart-shaped hole in Yu Yang's chest. I forgot to tell you, I went to investigate for you. That savage fellow had squeezed himself halfway in, but he was trapped by the ancient will. In addition, there were also the ice and fire laws that were entangling him. I reckon that even if he managed to squeeze himself in, he wouldn't be able to get out of that foggy place, even after 10 to 15 days. You can rest easy for a few days. How about it? I worked so hard to help you. Shouldn't you be very grateful to me? Girl, I'm so moved. Yu Yang jumped up suddenly and held her little hand tightly. I really can't think of a better way to express my gratitude in my heart than to devote myself to you. Qilin girl Bing rolled her eyes. She was really speechless when she met such a guy. The savage female robber met the shameless pervert. That was almost it. Sickly beauty, and Yu pretended not to see it. They turned around and laughed so hard that they couldn't stand still at all. After the Qilin girl left, Yu Yang was no longer worried about the 3 god mirrors. Instead, he was worried about whether Princess Sisai and the Impatiens would encounter Ji Wuri, who had become a running turtle. Don't look at how Ji Wuri was beaten by the mysterious man until fallen flowers flowed like water. His strength was absolutely amazing, but he was no match for the mysterious man, an old turtle who had lived for tens of thousands of years. Yu advised, "Don't worry, Duo and Jiangying are here. They will be fine. Even if they encounter Ji Wuri, they will be able to return safely." Duo and Jiangying were indeed powerful, but they had all suffered different degrees of injuries in the battle with the mysterious man. They should have had a good rest earlier. However, Princess Qian was also accompanied by Red, Man, Ika, and Future. If there was no strong enemy like the mysterious man, and it was just Ji Wuri alone, there was really nothing to be afraid of. Yu Yang thought about it, but in the end, he was still not at ease. He decided to adjust his body's state and immediately bring Princess Qian and the others back. Training was necessary, but the current mountain beyond mountain was too dangerous. The mysterious man had just died, and now there was the evil deity's Weiguan. Moreover, Ji Wuri was also temporarily missing. This kind of person would be a scourge if he was not eliminated. Adjust your body again. The faster you recover, the safer they will be and the more at ease we will be. After the sickly beauty finished speaking, she gave Yu Yang a surprise. In the midst of your fierce battle, Duo and Jiangying persuaded us. When the 2 of them went out to help, I seemed to feel Wu Xia's consciousness. She woke up before? Yu Yang was overjoyed. This I am not too sure. I was too worried at that time and did not pay special attention. Sickly beauty could not be 100% sure, but there was some kind of feeling. I really hope she will wake up soon. Yu Yang specially went to take a look, but found that Shui Wuxiao was still in a deep sleep, and there was no sign of her waking up. He could not help but sigh. Yu and Sickly Beauty took turns to comfort her. After the 3 of them left, the sleeping Shui Wuxia's long eyelashes trembled imperceptibly. During the battle with the powerful, mysterious man, Yu Yang found many of his shortcomings. During the battle, he did not have time to think at all. The mysterious man's pressure was like a mountain. Whether it was the external pressure of the divine power or the psychological pressure, it was so heavy that he could not think. Now that the battle was over, Yu Yang calmly reflected and slowly realized there were actually many things that he did not do well, many inadequacies. In the endless world inside the Silver Grimoire, the 3 little Lolas that represented destruction, creation, and eternity had pointed out to him the meaning of the holy sovereign realm and existence. A true expert, a true god, could not only destroy everything in the world, they could also create everything in the world. Furthermore, they were an eternal existence. No power could destroy or deny this kind of eternity. If one cannot do it, then he was not a true holy sovereign realm. He was not a true god. In the battle with the mysterious man, if Yu Yang could maintain eternity, then no matter how strong the mysterious man was, how could he hurt him? Yu Yang felt that not only could he not maintain eternity, he could not even meet the requirements of one thought creation. If he could maintain the realm of creating worlds with a single thought, the mysterious man's three forms of beastification, demonification, and deification, as well as the attack of the divine power-killing wave and the artifact in his hand, how could he break the infinite creation of all things with a single thought? For example, Duo and Jiang Ying could use their realm of creation to fight against the mysterious man. Even if they were slightly weaker, they would not be completely helpless like him. In the end, what he could barely do was to destroy. And it was not a true destruction that could destroy everything, other than the Nirvana true fire, innate sword chi, and world exterminating wheel. The other attacks could not hurt the mysterious man at all. He originally thought that after understanding the three holy sovereign profound meanings of destruction, creation, and eternity, his realm would be much higher than Jiwari's. Who knew that in the battle, it was still the same, there was not much improvement. I'm such an idiot. Yu Yang hugged his head and roared. The guidance of the three little Lolas from a silver grimoire, Queen Vivian, Li's explanation, and the final revelation from the heavenly sword goddess flashed through his mind. Suddenly, he felt that his mind was clear and he was enlightened. The power of enlightenment. It burst out from his body. Boundless chaos origin energy gushed out from his body and fused into his newly born and constantly evolving creation domain. The Nirvana flame rose up into a huge pillar of fire. Tao Tai, crescent moon, star sky scorpion, and other divine weapons lined up. The human divine weapon distant feather sisters transformed into a pair of flying birds, circling around their master. He Gui Zong, by Shuanghua, Qi Shao Yin, Cheng Hongguang, Wang Lung Yuan, and the other swords formed with a single thought, pointing towards the sky. The Milky Way in the starry sky domain was resplendent, and the 12 constellations of the ecliptic were especially dazzling. He Zi, light of destruction, and Ji Zun's unique sword skill, sword of life. One by one, they reappeared. Yu Yang raised his head towards the sky and opened his arms in the midst of his enlightenment. In the sky, a soul-shaking and heavenly cry rang out. At the top of the Nirvana flame pillar, the Phoenix sisters descended. They were so fast that Yu Yang's eyes could not capture their figures. They had already entered the top of Yu Yang's head and merged with him. Chapter 12:10. The Wheel of Destruction, the Wheel of Eternity. They re-entered Yu Yang's body, ascending and being reborn together with him. The Tong Tian beast turned into a small dragon, shaking its head as it coiled around Yu Yang's arm. It continuously absorbed the chaos origin energy that was gushing out from Yu Yang's body to enrich itself, continuously improving and growing. The Yaoyu sisters returned to their human forms, each hugging one of Yu Yang's legs, their body, mind, and spirit resonating with him. The reborn creation domain and the world, unique to Yu Yang's holy grimoire, were fusing with the bright Milky Way, comet, and the most dazzling 12 zodiac constellations. The light of destruction filled the entire domain space, and the black pieces flew into the mysterious devouring origin in Yu Yang's body, merging into one. Little Winley flew out and hugged Yu Yang's waist. Looking up, the divine light in her eyes was cast towards the sky at the same time, as Yu Yang's posture of looking up at the sky. The 1,000-meter-tall golden snake statue stood at the top of the sky, but compared to the giant of destiny that was about to descend, it was relatively small, not even reaching the knees. Not only Yu Yang himself and the creation domain, but the entire grimoire world was undergoing earth-shattering changes. In the current grimoire world, everything was being reborn and everything was evolving. Everyone, including the sleeping Shui Wuxia, was immersed in this mysterious change. Even Duo, Jiang Ying, Red, Aman, IKA, and Future, as well as Princess Sisai and Impatience, who were not guardian war beasts but lovers' wives, All had telepathic connections and had different degrees of resonance and improvement. Far away on the first floor of Tong Tian Tower, in the Yu clan castle of the soaring dragon continent, Hui Tai Lang, who had been sleeping lazily and was unwilling to move, suddenly jumped up and let out a roar that shook the mountains and rivers, as if it wanted to resonate with Yu Yang in the Heaven Realm trial. Fourth Mother, who was in the mirage of the Tian Luo Palace, was suddenly shocked. She carried Chuang Air and hurriedly walked out. She looked up at the sky with a surprised expression. Night Empress, who was standing above the 500,000 step of the heaven stairway, and Ji Zun, who had already broken through and stepped above the 1 million step. They all resonated. Other than them, there were other people calling out to him from afar. However, this resonance was mysterious and unfathomable. No one knew its origin and identity. Just as the divine grimoire automatically appeared in the air, the giant of fate was about to descend on Yu Yang's head. Just as the newly born divine power, divine knowledge, and divinity that Yu Yang had condensed after breaking through to God level were about to fuse into one and give birth to a new god. A sword came from the east. Very quickly and mysteriously, the godhood and Yu Yang that were about to condense were cut off. Everything that was formed and born in the divine realm was cut off. Any kind of power and godly power that surpassed humans were all guided into the divine grimoire by the power of that one sword. On the other hand, Yu Yang, who had yet to break through to the godly realm and had yet to obtain his godly body and divinity, remained in the grimoire world unscathed. There had never been a person who was able to comprehend the godly level twice. There had also never been a person who was able to recultivate everything that he could not reach the godly level after breaking through to the godly level. Other than Yu Yang, no one else had such an opportunity. That marvelous sword, it could be said that it was even more flawless than the most marvelous stroke of the world. It was also mysterious and profound, and it was also perfect. All the words in the world were unable to describe the marvelous sword strike that came from the horizon. The light of revelation that was like the light of dawn in front of that sword. It also seemed to be overshadowed. However, Yu Yang, who had already lost his consciousness in the sublimation of his divine sense, and all the girls whose minds were also blank, did not know that such a sword had once appeared. When Yu Yang woke up, he was surprised to find that he was lying in a familiar yet strange space. Whether it was the mountains and rivers that he could see, or the palaces and buildings behind him, they were all very different from the original grimoire world. It was even vaster and bigger than the original grimoire world. The sky was countless miles high. The earth was covered with towering mountains, forests, and lush greenery. The original small lake had expanded into a boundless ocean. If it wasn't for the fact that there were no wind or waves, only slight ripples, and the fact that Yu Yang tasted it and found it sweet and delicious, he would have really thought that it was an ocean and not a lake. The original cloud-top fortress had already disappeared. The white clouds and floating rocks obtained from the prison Emperor Divine Palace had all disappeared as well. What replaced them was an even more faintly discernible and gentle breeze. There were mountains in the sky. It was like the legendary celestial mountains and treasured lands. Spiritual springs and waterfalls hung from the sky. Even its owner, Yu Yang, did not know the name of the exotic plants, spiritual birds, and precious beasts. They were either in the sky, in the forest, in the clear pond beside the lake, or in the shrubs and flowers, playing with each other. The wooden houses built by Princess Sisai and the others had already been covered with green leaves and green vines, blending into the forest. As for the crystal palaces and pavilions that Yu Yang and Sickly Beauty had painstakingly created, they also had a new architectural style. Many locations and decorations that could not be seen before were all perfect, without a single flaw. Yu Yang looked at this brand new grimoire world, feeling a great sense of disbelief. Did he make this? Why did it seem like he was not very confident? Did he really make this? Although the commotion was a little big, I feel that the changes this time are indeed better than the last time. Sickly Beauty and Yu Yu, who floated over on the rainbow, looked like fairies descending from heaven. Their expressions were calmer, but they were not as useless as Yu Yang, who was actually scared by his own creations. Wait, don't run. As for Bao Air, who carelessly chased after those unknown beasts the moment she woke up, there was no need to even mention her. This is the home that I've really dreamed of. I'm so happy. Bai Lu and Aquamarine were whispering to each other. Unimaginable. Leader Raging Flames shook her head and sighed. Yes, yes. Although Lu Yi did not say it out loud, one could see from her small face that Master is the most powerful in the world worship. What happened just now? There were also those who were confused like Xia Yi. When she woke up, she found that the whole world had changed. She almost thought that she had been kidnapped. Fortunately, Yang was not far away from her, so she calmed down. Drunken Cat hurried over with Miss Panda, Nyonyo, but Nyonyo was attracted by a beautiful butterfly halfway. She walked with her little feet, but her little head turned back to look at it reluctantly. It was only until the big butterfly flew into the flowers and disappeared that she took a step forward and dashed towards Yu Yang, reporting her great discovery to him. I found a butterfly just now. Its wings are flashing. It's so beautiful, even more beautiful than the kite butterfly last time. The little fellow selflessly shared her joy and discovery with Yu Yang. Yu Yang picked her up and rewarded her with a sweet lollipop. Next time you find a good treasure, remember to tell me. Miss Panda, Nyonyo nodded her little head and kissed Yu Yang's face. Afraid that her mother would scold her, she quickly hid the lollipop behind her. It was only until Drunken Cat and you were busy talking that they had no time to care about her. Only then did she hide behind Yu Yang. She stretched out half of her little face to observe her mother, while eagerly licking the lollipop in her hand. Her little appearance was simply too cute. Don't ask me. I don't know what happened either. Yu Yang himself was also at a loss. The only thing he remembered was the process of his battle with the mysterious man, reflecting on himself, and connecting it with the guidance of the three little Lolas in the silver grimoire. In the end, his head exploded, and he couldn't remember anything else. It should be some kind of breakthrough. Drunken Cat affirmed. It doesn't seem like he increased his realm. Yu Yang was already a quasi-god before this. Once he broke through, wouldn't he be promoted to the god realm? But where was the god realm now? Maybe it's a very special kind of breakthrough. It has nothing to do with his strength, but his state of mind, willpower, enlightenment, and domain have undergone great changes. Otherwise, how could there be such a big change in the grimoire world? Yu also did not know that there was a sword that cut through everything in Yu Yang's god realm when he broke through, giving Yu Yang a chance to become a god again. All right. No one knows what happened, so don't waste your time guessing. Anyway, it's a good thing. Sickly Beauty asked everyone to calm down and settle their own matters first, then integrate into the new life in the grimoire world. When everyone was busy, Yu Yang quickly went to see Xuan Yo, whom he was most concerned about. He turned pale with fright when he saw her. The reason was Shui Wuxiao was missing. Sickly Beauty and the others who heard the news were extremely shocked. They really did not know what to say to comfort Yu Yang. On the other hand, Bao Air suddenly said, I think I saw Sister Wuxia just now. Why did she disappear so suddenly? Ah, I understand. She must have woken up and went to wash up. Yu was afraid that Yu Yang would impulsively interrogate Bao Air and scare the little golden elf girl, so she quickly stood in front of her. She woke up. Why didn't she see us? Yu Yang calmed down and thought hard. Maybe she returned to the grimoire world. Yu guessed. Yes. Drunken Cat suddenly frowned, but she might have been kicked out of the training grounds, just like Mingyu Guang. If not, even if she returned to the grimoire world, she would have greeted us. She would not have disappeared for no reason. Sickly Beauty was afraid that Yu Yang would be worried, so she quickly corrected. Mingyu Guang was kicked out of the training grounds because she leveled up to divine level. And before she left, she also greeted us. It's not like she didn't even have a few seconds to greet us. Wuxia must have also leveled up to divine level. Drunken Cat still insisted on her own reason. Even if she did, she would have greeted us. Moreover, the outer mountain is completely different from the human valley. The human valley cannot have divine level trial takers. in the outer mountain, not to mention the mysterious man, deicide, and the other 8 heavenly masters are all divine level. Although they became gods with the help of Tai-Yin and Bing-Li, strictly speaking, they cannot be considered true gods. But they're still divine level. Why didn't they get kicked out of the outer mountain? Moreover, this is my grimoire world. The training grounds rules should not affect this place. Yu Yang waved his hand to indicate that there must be other reasons. Maybe. Lu Yi looked at Yu Yang timidly and hesitated to speak. Say whatever you think. Maybe you are right. Yu Yang encouraged this little girl to speak freely. Sometimes her intuition was very accurate. Master Wu Xia, maybe like Duo and Jiang Ying, she want to train with Sister Bingyin. I also don't know if that's the case, I'm just guessing. After Lu Yi finished, she stuck out her tongue in fear, afraid that if she said something wrong, it would affect Yu Yang's mood. That must be the case. Who knew that what she said would win the hearts of everyone, and they all agreed. If that's the case, then I can rest assured. Yu Yang patted his chest. He was almost scared to death by this Xue Niu who suddenly disappeared. When she comes back, he must spank her little butt, letting go of the knot in his heart. Yu Yang recalled everything that had happened before. Many memories were already blurred, or perhaps it was as if it had been cut off by a sword, and he couldn't remember anything at all. In the end, after racking his brains for a long time, Yu Yang vaguely grasped a bit of information. He remembered that he seemed to have seen the Phoenix sisters descending from the sky during the ascension process. The heavenly sword goddess might even have appeared. He even seemed to have seen the heavenly sword goddess brandishing her sword at him. As for whether it was real or not, Yu Yang was in a daze, so he didn't dare to confirm it. Chapter 12:11. Mountain Beyond Mountain, Receiving Stage. Jiu Shao and Ji Wuri continued to fight fiercely. Waves of shockwaves spread out of the ancient remnant's divine destruction domain. This area of effect, transforming into a destructive energy explosion or a violent hurricane, causing the space within a radius of more than 10 kilometers to cave in. It caused the receiving stage within the divine destruction domain, this area of effect, to become an isolated island. Let's end this meaningless battle. Ji Wuri suddenly jumped out of the battle and waved his hand dismissively. Your strength has indeed improved greatly. You have recovered so quickly after being sealed and even made a breakthrough. Jiu Shao, your improvement has indeed exceeded my expectations. However, if you think that you can defeat me with this level of power, that is a joke. No matter how weak I, Ji Wuri, am, I'm not someone that a heaven realm great leader of the quasi-god realm like you can defeat. Forget about you. Even that confident master of yours will not be able to keep me here. Is that so? Jiu Shao suddenly laughed arrogantly. His strange voice was extremely terrifying as it was forcefully sucked into Ji Wuri's eardrums. Could it be that you still have some reservations? Ji Wuri looked like he didn't care, but he was secretly alarmed. Long before you instigated me to go to Tong Tian Tower to fight with the prison emperor, I had already been secretly on my guard. Jiu Shao laughed coldly. Because of the prison emperor's unparalleled strength, your plan succeeded. I admit that at that time, I had already used all of my strength, but I was still unable to escape from the prison emperor's seal. Fortunately, the main target of his seal was not me. Otherwise, I would never be able to return from the prison emperor's divine palace in Tong Tian Tower. With a heart full of reverence for the prison emperor, I returned to the heaven realm furiously. The first thing that came to my mind was not to take revenge, nor was it to massacre the entire Tong Tian Tower. That damn place, no matter if it has fallen or how many hidden experts there are, I don't want to go there anymore. I don't care what Void wants to do. That is his freedom. But no one should ever think of forcing me to step into Tong Tian Tower again. I hate Tong Tian Tower. I hate the living beings there. I especially hate their terrifying growth speed and crazy sacrificial spirit. When I saw that brat for the first time, I realized that Tong Tian Tower had given birth to a new prison emperor. A new prison emperor who was even more cunning and had the protection of an immortal beast. If anyone wants to go to the Tower of Babel and destroy everything there, then he will immediately be out of luck. For example, the current void and your central shrine's Eastern Temple Master. Tong Tian Tower, in the thousands of years that I have been sealed, I have calmly thought about it. That damn place is simply unconquerable. Even if someone can flatten your central shrine, Tong Tian Tower will not fall. There's an unfathomable power and the mysterious Eastern clan guarding it without anyone knowing. I believe your master knows about this. He must have told you this secret, and you, the self-proclaimed best friend of me and Void, pushed me and Void into the abyss of destruction that we can never return from. Luckily, with Mingyu Guang, we were finally able to escape. However, Ji Wuri, I've been accumulating my anger all the time just so that when I return, I can personally give you a little gratitude that is not worth mentioning. Jiu Shao looked at Ji Wuri and calmly expressed his wish. If I don't twist off your noble head and stuff it into your asshole, I think the anger that has been accumulating for thousands of years will not be able to dissipate, even a little. Just you? Ha ha ha, can I laugh out loud? Ji Wuri snorted disdainfully at Jiu Zhao's words. Like I said just now, before I started the battle with the prison emperor, I had already held back. Jiu Zhao spoke very slowly. Every word he said was absorbed by the black hole. It was obviously very strange. I left my guardian beast Black Sea in the heaven realm. No one would believe that I would be so crazy, but I succeeded. When I returned to the heaven realm alive, Master had already poured all the potential of the warriors that he had killed for thousands of years into my Black Sea. When I came back and fused with it, although it was not as good as him, it was enough for me to level up to God level and kill you, my old friend. Hearing this, Ji Wuri's expression changed drastically. It took a long time for him to recover. He clapped his hands, clapping hard as he shook his head and sighed. Jiu Shao, you are indeed the enemy that I, Jiga, am most worried about and guarded against. You are really out of my expectations. TSK, to leave behind your strongest guardian beast before the battle, this kind of courage is really admirable. But, Jiu Shao, you're very smart, but I, Ji Wuri, am not a fool, okay? Jiu Shao was slightly startled. He paused for a while before suppressing his anger and snorted. You also held back? Ji Wuri laughed out loud. My old friend, look at how disappointed you are. I really want to say no. However, how could someone like me be your rival in life? How could I be the Heaven Realm's #1 genius that had always suppressed you? You have an amazing master, and so do I. Although he doesn't protect you like your master, I have never stopped learning from my master for the past several thousand years. At the very least, I have never stopped collecting the taboo power that I learned from him. Not to mention outside, just here in the outer mountains, I have collected the huge potential of 10,000 people who had their bodies explode because of the taboo power. I think if it wasn't for me insisting on not leveling up to God level, painstakingly challenging the Seventh Gate, Human Valley, and desperately pursuing the Divine Grimoire, I would have stepped into God level long ago. Why would I wait for you to show off in front of me? I have a suggestion. Ji Wuri smiled from ear to ear and stretched out his hand, provoking Jiu Shao. Why don't we use our reserve power together and see who can level up to God level faster and become stronger? What do you think? Jiu Shao took a deep breath. Good, very good. Only by killing you like this will it be exciting enough and will give me a sense of achievement. This is exactly what I wanted to say. The smile on Ji Wuri's face did not diminish, but his words were as cold as ice. He was not even as good as Ji Wuri and Jiu Shao, who were fighting each other like dogs, Yu Yang. He was currently rushing towards the storm fort. Xuanyo had disappeared. He was already worried that he could not find her. Now, he did not want anything to happen to Princess Sisai, Fallen Beauty, and the others. He could not be bothered to check his treasures or rest. He rushed towards the storm fort. In a valley tens of kilometers away from the storm fort, Yu Yang suddenly found something strange below. There was a strange aura spreading below. Yu Yang was very familiar with this aura. It was the forbidden power. You bunch of natural fools, I told you not to participate in the test. There's no such thing as a free lunch in the world, but you guys were so stupid that you were blinded by greed. How can there be such a good thing in this world? Now, tens of thousands of people have become useless trash, and you guys will be the same sooner or later. Get closer to the center. If not for the power of the ancient artifact, all of you will explode. The worst thing is, in order to save you bunch of trash, I've been dragged into this as well. Getting to know you bunch of inferior gluttons who have no other use other than your mouths is really the biggest misfortune of my life. When Yu Yang flew down, he found Raven standing in the crowd, scolding a bunch of galactic pirates who had sat up in a circle. Boss, you didn't say not to take the test. When I mentioned it, you also said yes, Spotted Duck argued, feeling wronged. Did I say yes? Did I really say yes? Are you sure? Raven was furious when he heard this. You didn't say it, but you didn't say anything. Usually, if you don't say anything, isn't that a silent agreement? Spotted Duck's words received the support of the galactic pirates. Raven was indeed like this usually, agreeing without saying anything. In that dangerous environment, would I dare to say no? Damn, can you have some brains? So many fanatical fools went in to die, and you guys were still enjoying it. You guys were as dizzy as pigs. You even said that my silence was a silent agreement. Silent your sister, silent agreement. I was just suffering in silence. Raven kicked Spotted Duck to the ground and gave him a good beating. What should I do now? Pelican laid on the ground dejectedly, gnawing on a lamb leg out of boredom. It wasn't easy for me to obtain this power. I've never been so powerful in my life. I can't use it now, and my body might explode at any moment. I'm too unlucky. Grasshopper was even more depressed. Scram, you damned traitor. Raven was not in the mood to talk to this guy. I'm innocent. I've only betrayed Lord Titan a few times, and my conscience drove me to turn over a new leaf. I didn't betray you this time, did I? I've really turned over a new leaf. Grasshopper was kicked to the ground by Raven. He cried out and tried to defend himself. You have no conscience. If it wasn't for the fact that the guy Forgetful left behind couldn't beat me, you would be a F** king traitor. Raven saw through this guy's nature with a single glance. Actually, I already knew that you would win. The first time you hijacked Gannett, no, the current Big Swan, you already knew how to use the forbidden power. Therefore, I really didn't intend to be a traitor. Grasshopper didn't have any other specialties, but he was thick-skinned. Of course, his analysis was also correct. When the galactic pirates hijacked Gannett, the forbidden power that Raven used had indeed played a huge role. It was a pity that Forgetful Dawn didn't know this when he personally captured Raven. Otherwise, Forgetful Dawn would definitely have killed Raven at that time, instead of capturing him and attempting to brainwash him with the forbidden power. In the end, the forbidden power failed to brainwash him, and instead, Raven saved a large group of galactic pirates and the Revolutionary Army soldiers that followed them. At first, Yu Yang couldn't understand why Raven and the rest would become like this. However, after listening for a while, he came to a realization. The reason was Ji Wuri's doing in the dark. In order to forcefully seize the potential of the ordinary soldiers and accumulate them to upgrade his beasts or himself, he came up with such a tempting excuse. Fortunately, Raven had tried it before and broke free from the control of the forbidden power with his own efforts. That was how he managed to save such a large group of people. If not for Raven, everyone would probably have become the sacrifice for Ji Wuri's upgrade. If this matter had not happened before the Grimoire world changed greatly, but he himself didn't see any breakthrough, Yu Yang wouldn't have been able to do anything to these galactic pirates who could only surround the ancient artifact fragment and would explode the moment they left. But now he had at least 3 solutions. Although they weren't perfect choices, it was enough for these uncouth galactic pirates to keep their lives. There's always a price to pay for being greedy. Yu Yang's appearance made Pelican, Spotted Duck, Grasshopper, and the other galactic pirates who knew him so well that their eyes were watery with joy. On the other hand, the Revolutionary Army who didn't know him jumped to their feet as if they were facing a formidable enemy, as if they were going to attack him at any time. You idiots, sit down. There's no place for you to talk here. Raven couldn't help but fly into a rage when he saw these idiots. Lord Titan, Your shoes are dirty." Grasshopper rushed out. "You traitor." Spotted Duck was also furious when he saw that this guy was going to steal his job. He was originally going to forgive Grasshopper, but he changed his mind immediately. Too embarrassing. Raven realized that not only Grasshopper and Spotted Duck, but all the galactic pirates, including Pelican, were also like shoeshine boys. He couldn't help but cover his face as he couldn't bear to look anymore. These guys were too embarrassing. He really didn't want to say that he knew them. However, Yu Yang's appearance still made him, who had been tense the whole time, heave a sigh of relief. Before solving the problem of the forbidden power, Yu Yang was worried about Princess Sisai and the others, so he couldn't help but ask, "How's the situation at the Storm Fortress?" Chapter 12:12. The Storm Fortress. The soldiers of the East and West camps were already exhausted from the battle. Corpses, broken bones, and broken limbs were piled up like mountains. The blood that sprayed on the ground had already converged into a stream and formed a pool. Regardless of whether it was the loyal men of sacrifice or the soldiers caught in the middle, all of them roared and pounced on the enemy, ready to fight to the death. This was a battle to the death. In the end, there would be no losers, only victors. Only victors would be able to live to the end. Those who wanted to live. They had to move forward and kill all the enemies that appeared in front of them. The battlefield below the Storm Fortress was like a gigantic meat grinder, devouring the lives of the soldiers every second. When Yu Yang led the Galactic Pirates and Revolutionary Army, who had finally removed the taboo power and arrived at the Storm Fortress, he could not help but gasp at the tragic situation there. Millions of soldiers from both sides were fighting, covering the sky and colliding with each other like tides. There were people falling to the ground every second, twitching and dying in pain. There were also valiant generals. Even if their stomachs were cut open and their intestines were several meters long, they still charged forward like mad tigers with unstoppable momentum. Their eyes were blood red, as if they were possessed by a monster that wanted to devour people. They fell to the ground in exhaustion and were surrounded by the enemy. They were chopped into meat paste by swords and sabers. All the battles in the world were overshadowed by this tragic battlefield. Thousands of people fell to the ground every second. In the blink of an eye, countless living bodies fell to the ground. Blood spurted out from their wounds, and their unwilling souls disappeared between the gaps of their teeth. "Why aren't you resting? Why are you here?" Princess Sisai's voice sounded from behind Yu Yang. This is... When the Galactic Pirates saw Princess Sisai, they were first shocked. Then, realizing that this was Yu Yang's wife, all of them winked. Although Princess Qian was wearing a full suit of heavy armor, her unparalleled spirit and aura, as well as her valiant appearance, could easily kill the eyes of the space pirates. Those with quick reactions like Big Brother and Flower Duck hurriedly bowed. Wow, Boss Titan is so lucky. Look, here comes another one. The Spotted Duck's mouth was so wide open that a bull-eating toad could fit inside. "I'm so jealous." Grasshopper simply fell to the ground, his calf twitching like a cockroach being stepped on. Princess Sisai descended. In the sky, another fallen beauty flew down with her. Different from Princess Sisai, Fallen Beauty wore brocade clothes and did not like to wear battle clothes. When she flew down, she was like a fairy descending from the heavens. Compared to Hunyo, who was currently clad in heavy armor, the Fallen Flower Beauty had a heavenly countenance that could be both angry and happy at the same time, which complemented her peerlessly beautiful figure. How could the Galactic Pirates, who had never seen such a devastatingly beautiful woman, not be stunned by her beauty? When they saw Fallen Beauty flying down and hugging their boss, of course, they did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly bowed to greet her. In their hearts, this intimate beauty was probably the official wife, that heroic woman who was as cold as a sword. Her relationship with Lord Titan was probably not that close. Where duo and the rest? Yu Yang realized that only Princess Sisai and Fallen Beauty were here. Red, a man, aka Future, Duo and Jiangying were not here. He was puzzled. Where did they go? Deicide and the rest sacrificed their lives for the seal. We split up just now to gather their families to prevent them from being assassinated. Now the situation in Mountain Outer Mountain is unclear and chaotic. Let's slowly arrange it after we straighten it out. Forget it. You don't have to worry about it. What you need to do now is to rest well, understand? Leave these trivial matters to us. Quickly go back and rest. Fallen Beauty explained a little and asked Yang to go back and rest early. One must know that there was an even more dangerous God's war waiting for them. I'm worried about you guys running around outside. Yu Yang still couldn't find any traces of Ji Wori. Furthermore, he didn't know when that evil deity's Wei Guang would break free. It was impossible for him to rest peacefully in the grimoire world. Really, we're not kids anymore. Princess Sisai rolled her eyes at Yu Yang. Although she was unhappy on the surface, she was actually very happy with his concern. Princess Sisai frowned at the battle below the storm fortress. Even if these were not people from Tong Tian Tower or the soaring dragon continent, they were strangers that she had never met before. But this kind of killing still made her feel an inexplicable disgust. It was not directed at someone, but at this war. The God's War has nothing to do with ordinary soldiers. Black Day only wants to eliminate Deicide's followers in the eastern camp by letting them fight here. Now that Deicide is dead and Black Day is nowhere to be found, this war is meaningless. Princess Sisai gestured for Yu Yang not to make a move. She was determined to personally solve this predicament of war. You guys step back. Yu Yang waved his hand to signal the Galactic Pirates and Revolutionary Army to step back. He could have used his creation domain to help Princess Sisai display her skills as he wished. But since Princess Sisai wanted to solve it herself, of course he would support her unconditionally. He decided to watch quietly from the side and see if Tigress had also achieved a resonance and leveled up during his strange breakthrough. In the grimoire world, Sickly Beauty, Yu and the others all had different realizations and leveled up. There was no reason for Princess Sisai and the others to have nothing. And from the looks of it, she was very different from before. Then, what kind of new realizations did Princess Sisai gain? Yu Yang suddenly felt a little expectant. The Hell Tiger Divine Sword was slowly pulled out from the heaven-devouring beast. His holy energy domain was fully unleashed. Countless lightning bolts tore through the sky and interweaved into millions of lightning bolts. At the top of the sky, a dragon's head stretched out. For a moment, golden snakes danced and purple lightning exploded. Everyone's soul was shaken to the point of chaos. Heavenly fire fell like rain. On Princess Sisai's body, a vermilion bird riding on heavenly fire quietly descended and merged with her, adding 2 wings on both sides of her godly armor. Dragon and tiger roared. All the soldiers on the battlefield felt a sense of fear, as if they were being escorted to the guillotine to be beheaded. The moment the white tiger descended, its murderous intent drowned and annihilated many evil souls. The earth crazily collapsed and cracked into cliffs, cracks that countless horses couldn't jump overextended across the earth. The boundless power that came from the abyss shattered the entire earth. The indestructible storm fort trembled, collapsed, and toppled over under such a huge force. Countless people were so scared that they wanted to jump into the air to avoid this terrifying, earth-shattering power. But just as they thought of it, they were already frozen by the power of extreme cold. Everyone was frozen. The Hell Tiger Divine Sword in Princess Sisai's hand was raised above her head and pierced the air, pointing straight to the sky. On the ground, the countless weapons, whether they were owned or not, whether they were the broadswords and axes in the hands of the generals, or the spears and shields of the soldiers, were all sucked into the sky by the power of the godly sword and Princess Sisai's supreme will. Millions of weapons flew into the sky densely like rain. As Princess Sisai's godly sword pointed, the countless, oddly shaped war machines were all gathered into one, as if there was an invisible hand in the sky that was using supreme power to gather them into one. Amidst the teeth-numbing sounds of impact, the millions of weapons quickly gathered to form an unprecedented giant sword. It was nearly 100 meters wide and 1,000 meters long. Be it the spine or the edge, they were all formed from the various weapons on the ground. Once the world-shattering giant sword was formed, it immediately emitted millions of sword auras, covering the sky and earth, sweeping across the land. It forcibly separated the soldiers of the east and west camps. Any die-hard loyalists. They were all split in front of the formation. The giant sword descended with a rumbling sound. The pressure of the sword mountain caused all living beings on the ground to tremble and be intimidated. The giant sword was stabbed deeply into the ground in front of the storm fort. It was hundreds of meters deep into the ground, almost to the hilt. Only the gigantic spine and hilt of the sword were exposed, causing the ground to collapse. Even so, the parts that were exposed were enough to make all the soldiers on the battlefield turn pale with fright. Their legs trembled, and they almost wet themselves on the ground. In the instant that the blade of the sword was stabbed into the ground, the vermilion bird holy power's flames burned the ground, but it just happened to unseal all the frozen lives without harming them in the slightest. The white tiger holy power was so dense that it had already shattered the armor of the two armies. It stripped away everyone's fighting spirit. It was unknown who was the first to kneel down in awe. With this beginning, the soldiers of the two armies seemed to be competing to see who would be the first to yield. One by one, they knelt down like an avalanche. It was unknown who was the first to howl, but it triggered a tsunami-like collapse in the battlefield. Almost everyone's tears fell like rain, and the sound of wailing rose from all over the battlefield. In the face of absolute power, even the most die-hard loyalists would be intimidated by the fear in their hearts. In the face of this incomparable giant sword, no one was able to summon the will to fight and continue to fight with their killing intent. Shut up. Princess Sisai landed lightly on top of the giant sword's hilt. The Hell Tiger Divine sword was held in her hand. Heaven and earth trembled under her sword. Even Super God Envoy level powerhouses like Marshal Feng Air, Marshal Griffin, and the Golden Eagle General did not dare to raise their heads to look at Princess Sisai with the divine sword in her hand. For example, the galactic pirates who were muttering about whether Princess Sisai was Boss Titan's little lover or the target of his pursuit were now so scared that they peed their pants. All of them lay on the ground with their butts arched higher than their heads, deeply afraid that they would be killed by the sword goddess sword intent if they did not show enough respect. Princess Sisai did not care about anyone's attitude. She looked down at everyone from above and made her first declaration since she stepped into the Outer Mountain. Deicide is dead, Black Day has been defeated, and the 8 great masters have all fallen. From today onwards, regardless of faction or origin, all of you are slaves under my sword. Sword slave? They did not have time to digest this news. Everyone started to react. Deicide is dead. Black Day has been defeated. The 8 great masters have all fallen. Each piece of news was more shocking than the last, each more unbelievable than the last. The soldiers on the battlefield were so shocked that they almost peed their pants. Even the marshals and generals of the divine nations who were at the rank of supreme divine emissary and above were so frightened by this sudden news that their bodies went limp and their hearts almost burst. Was this true or false? If it was true, then it was too crazy, too hopeless. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.